when you come out of them, you're coming out right where you
hot.
went in.
Weapons hot.
It's like you come. This is the Imperial Skulls of Honor podcast. I'm Josh Folan.
And I'm Jay Baxtron.
And we are going to be bullshitting about the formative years of console gaming as we revisit the periodicals that covered it again. Happy fucking New Year, Loric Disciples! In honor of us all making it to 2024, come hell or high water, we are turning our clocks back to nearly a century ago in Capcom's 1988 release of 1943, the Battle of Midway on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Emulation disclosure, I played on the Nestopia RetroArch core on my PC with my NES Advantage piped in via USB adapter because no way was I playing this shit without some high-level turbo capabilities. Jay, how did you play?
I played it the exact same way after deciding that playing with the standard NES controller was absolutely killing my soul, and I was ready to chuck the thing across the...
Maybe, you know what? We have been exchanging these text messages that just trail off, I feel, out of frustration on your end since we took this game episode upon us. And I've been like completely flummoxed by the idea that you don't like this game. Oh and it had not occurred to me that it might be that simple, that you tried to play it with the wrong tool at the top. And yes, that makes it impossible. You can't possibly play this game without turbo. It's impossible.
Let me just tell you this. Spoiler alert. I stopped at mission 3 with that controller, and I was done at that point.
That makes sense. That makes total sense because yes, and we talked about this via text. We'll get to it, but yeah, level 3 has a gate to it that is one of the harder ones in the game, and that is very much a membrane that has to be fucking gotten through to really get going and enjoy the game. I will concede. In any event, please rate and review the podcast, be part of the ISOH movement, give us validation on the podcast platform of choice or your podcast platform of choice in the form of a rating and review, and we will read it here on the pod. What are we jamming on now to close out 2023? Jay, what are you jamming on?
So, first of all, I finished Starfield. Super happy about that. You know, I finally finished it. It was a great game. I still feel the same way I felt before.
What does finished mean? Does finished mean like Skyrim finished? I'm going to be playing it for another decade, or
I mean, is it... Potentially. So I finished the main story campaign. You know, finally 100, and I think my year in Wrapped for Xbox said like 100. I put 148 hours into this or so, but into Starfield. But I finished the main story campaign.
They didn't even email me, Jay.
They didn't even.
Yeah, Xbox didn't even send that to me. That's hilarious.
Yeah, they're like, come on, bro, get your numbers up.
Although I found out Meta's doing it too. Meta is doing it too, and I haven't gotten that either. I do have a very, very aggressive junk filter, but I'm upset about that. Actually, I saw someone else post it, and I was like, I fucking was commenting on a few of them. I'm like, where did you get this? Like, I need this information. And they like sent me a link. I go to the link, and it's just it's broken, like because they have to like generate it and send it to you first before the link works. I guess.
Oh no, I could send you a link, and it'll take you to yours
for Xbox. Like, maybe,
yeah.
I'm saying for. Meta. Why can't I say that
word?
Meta. Whatever.
Because it's weird.
Facebook. Fuck Facebook. Stop bullshitting me. It's fucking Facebook.
So yeah, basically for Starfield, the main story campaign, plus all the, as I mentioned, all the side stuff that I did before. So finished that, and credits rolled. That was satisfying. You know, it ended in a cool way that I was not expecting. You know, to kind of happen. And so still want to start a new game plus when more content comes out. But because there's so many other hot games that I absolutely have to get to, I got to like pause it right now and be done with it. And one of those things that kept pulling my eyes towards it when I was playing Starfield was Sea of Stars. Have you heard of this at all?
I've heard a lot about it. It's an RPG with like an old kind of 16-bit vibe.
Yeah. So this is a fun RPG, and it actually just won Indie Game of the Year at the Game Awards. So pretty cool to see. It's on Game Pass, and it was something that looked really exciting. You know, I wanted to play it before the award, and so that just heightened my awareness of it. And I've gone through. I'm about 3 hours in. I've gone through the opening area, and got my game up. It's turn based, so it's fun, and I'm venturing forth. But it's super cool, man. It's really exciting, and I cannot wait to play it. But honestly, it's been hard because of freaking Call of Duty, man. This game, oh my gosh. We talked about Call of Duty last episode and my affinity for it and my experience with it. But specifically, like, I've been playing through the campaign, but mainly I've been playing through the campaign because they've been good, but also because I know that that'll unlock more stuff for the zombie mode, which is what I've been playing. Entirely zombies. This mode essentially took over my Christmas break. And, I will concede part of this is due to the fact that I'm playing with friends. One of my freshman year roommate, friend of mine from high school and middle school, he's playing it. He's a longtime Call of Duty fan, so him and some friends, we've all been playing this 3-player zombie mode together, and it's essentially replaced the fun that I had in ESO when I was doing dungeons and being able to say, hey, 3 or 4 man kind of raid, let's go in. Let's do this, maybe it's a 15-minute, maybe 40-minute kind of experience, but let's go in and get gear and see what we can do. And zombies is kind of that for me. It's fun. It's to the point where I would wake up and I knew I only had like an hour or so to kill before I had to start doing stuff. And I'm like, all right, let me just even jump in. Something I didn't really enjoy doing with Call of Duty, but just jumping in with randoms and like playing the zombie mode, even if we're not communicating on mic. Like, I'm just like, all right, let's go for it. It's that level of fun for me. So I've completed the freaking battle pass. I don't even care about the battle pass, but because the battle pass came with the game, like, I've completed it. What the fuck
is a battle pass?
So it's like, oh my gosh, pretty much it's a way to keep you playing if you pay for it. But for me, it just unlocks different skins, different weapons, and different in-game currency for me. And so, funny enough, like, I have these awesome skins that I'm using in the game, which are great. Like, I look like a super crazy operative, and I love them. But because of the currency just happened to be associated with it, I just bought a Skeletor skin. So now I'm running around with like a golden freaking Emperor Skeletor operator costume.
Licensed Skeletor?
Oh yeah.
Legit,
for sure legit
okay.
Licensed Skeletor with like, he's got like normal Skeletor, then he's got like a red outfit version. Then
what you need to get is get battle damage Skeletor. That's the legit Skeletor. With the chest
with
thing
with the X's and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they're not damaging me. I mean, that's the
Well, you should still, even if it's just purely cosmetic, you would want to look like you've been through hell.
That would
even
be
if
fun.
You have not been through hell.
That would be fun. But yeah, it's like I said, I'm shocked. I'm having so much fun, but also, like, if I wasn't playing with friends, it would probably be less exciting, but still fun. But it's a different level once you're coordinating and kind of running and deciding what to do together. So that's really been taking my time. But I will be jumping back in the Sea of Stars as the break ends and we go back to quote unquote normal life and start working again next week. So
yeah, I've heard a lot about it. I heard they were Axe of the Blood God is a big RPG podcast, and that was one of their big, better ones of the year RPG, like for hardcore RPG people, of course.
Yeah, it's funny because like, for the kids to sit down and start watching me play, like, my wife is huge into what's it called, Coral Island, and that's on Game Pass. Cozy, kind of in the vein of Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing kind of a thing.
I don't even know what it is, but it sounds like Animal Crossing.
Yeah, but more. Obviously you can do more, and they have their twists and things. But like, that's Courtney's type of game, and the kids love my youngest kids loved watching her play. But like, when I was playing Sea of Stars, they were watching me like, oh, what's happening there? You've got some action. What's going on? So it's fun, and I will be playing that. I also got Baldur's Gate 3, but I have not started playing yet. So because I heard there's an issue with like people losing saves, and so
I've heard a little bit of Xbox shit. Yeah,
because it just came out. But that's a game that Courtney and I are going to play together. So as soon as they fix that or patch that up, we're going to start jumping into that together as like a...
We haven't, I honestly haven't, we haven't touched it in weeks, man. It's not that it's bad, it's just, it's...
You were talking it up. You were like, I thought...
Yeah, it's not, it's just...
For months.
I don't even know how to describe it. It's not that it's bad, it's just, it's so...
Is it deep?
It's one of those games where the second you stop playing it, for any reason... it's really hard to like you pick it back up and you're like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? It's you know what I mean? There's just so much in it, and if that next thing isn't right there in front of you that you need to do, if you've walked away for any length of time, like this happened in Divinity Sin, I remember the first one, and that's part of that is why that fell off for us the first time we tried playing it. God knows how long ago on PS whatever 4 or whatever that was. Like it is, it's something about it is not.
Is it too nerdy, too knowledgeable? Like you got to retain so much.
I guess. Back,
you're like, right. I forgot that there was supposed to be a fruit near the tree of the garden.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that I guess maybe that it's somewhere that kind of nugget in there, tucked somewhere in that category. It's not. It's not. I mean, it is heavy fantasy lore for sure, but it tries to like, really humanize those archetypes, those fantasy archetypes, and turn them into people. Like you're not, that's like when Jab and I were talking about, like we started that second game, like I'm playing the second game. Like I don't even know how, like we tried to, because I was so early on and didn't understand it yet. But like, there's no, even I don't give a shit how many branching paths there are, and the game has 1 billion. I understand that. So if you do play, it will be probably nearly impossible to have the same experience, even if you're trying to, because there's just so many branching paths. But they are characters. Like they have full developed backstories. All your companions and stuff. It's not, they have like a very specific thing going on with them, and they're not. I don't know. I know this is a wavering explanation of this, but like it's just very. Yeah, everything is very specific, and I just don't see how experiencing it a second time would be any fun at all, because it is. I don't know. It's too big. I'm not going to be able to express this the right way, but it's I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on it. Wait, just to make sure I understand it. There's so many branching paths, but you feel like you would still experience the same thing, like the same. I feel like it wouldn't be interesting.
Like the variations.
It'd be like. Here's the thing. It'd be like.
Is it like me and you going on a trip to Texas in a car versus your mom and my son going on a trip? Different people, different stories, but going on the same trip, kind of a thing? Or is it more than that? Or you just can't even?
Yeah, I don't think it's that exact analogy. That's a very interesting analogy, though, Jay. It's like I'm trying to compare it to a movie, like because if there are movies you watch and you can watch 1,000,000 times, even though like I can recite Major League to you without the movie being on, but I'll watch that shit right now because you're like so invested in the characters and enjoy them. So I guess that might be as simple as that. Is I don't enjoy any of those characters enough to want to ride that ride again. It's just not like it's an incredibly deep game. It's incredibly interesting. There's 1,000,000 branching paths. It's everything you could ask of an RPG probably, but maybe almost to a fault. And two, something about it feels detached. While they're all interesting characters, I don't feel invested in them. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I don't have an explanation for why I feel that way. Maybe it's just me because many people don't. I seemingly feel that way. In any event, we haven't played it. I keep wanting to play it just because like I feel like I have a responsibility to play it and finish it. Partly because of the time invested already. Partly because it's the game of the year and it's exactly the kind of game of the year I would want to be game of the year. So. Right. I feel like I owe it. You? Yeah, I feel like I owe it to finish it. But it definitely, I don't want to play that anywhere near as much as I want to play Asgard's Wrath 2.
So clearly, it sounds like Asgard's Wrath 2 is your game of the year over.
Well, I don't know.
Are you willing to amend that?
I mean, I don't game of the year. I don't
For
have
you.
one. Yeah, I don't even think about it really. I guess. I mean, just my individual enjoyment.
Yeah.
What would be my game of the year? I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. What have I played the most? Would be Asgard's Wrath 1 probably, but that's from like 3 years ago, so that doesn't qualify for what we're really trying to say. I'm 100% certain that's what will be my most at the top of my thing if Meta ever sends it to me. But that's only because obviously 2's only been out for a few weeks. Yeah, I mean, as far as like quality and like it probably is Asgard's Wrath 2, just because again, this is the first time that on that platform you have something like this, and it's I mean, of course, obviously I have a whole fucking thing we're going to get to about it. Whoa. Yeah, whoa. Just fucking whoa that is on that platform in VR. A mobile phone basically. It's fucking nuts. So yeah, that would probably be my game of the year if I had to say.
Okay.
Before we get into that, though, is anything beyond Call of Duty?
That is it, man.
That
is it these days. I mean, I played some Halo Infinite, was kicking butt, but it is what it is. There, loving the modes as usual. It's good, but pretty much all COD.
Word. Okay, so then yeah, let's fucking talk Asgard's Wrath 2. That's certainly what I've been playing pretty much nonstop. I dropped the 15th, and I was really trying to. I came very close to 100%ing that first one, but like the difficulties that I already described about like crashing and stuff at times, it just and it is like just the bottom of the barrel of the remaining. Like I was I had to be at 99.3%. I was trying to find the thing I was actually trying to find last were these keys, and I don't even need the keys. They're just part of the 100%ing is finding
checking the box.
Exactly. The thing is, there's no way. The way it divides up, it's like you've done this many things in this area. It's still like 5 areas, and like it's just it's to look for a key in that much space. And like, do that. It's not. It was not worth it. And
that's why I don't 100% games normally.
Me either.
I look at those tasks and I'm like, no, thank you, pass.
I mean, I got to really, but I enjoyed the world so much, and the mechanics are all fucking fantastic. So I thought I was gonna, and like I said, I got most of it done. But yeah, some of the minute stuff I didn't finish. Anyways, I deleted it off 120 gigabytes. I was like, I need it. My computer was literally like, I'm out of space. I was like, I don't want to find those keys, and I need that 120 gigabytes anyways. I'm just gonna delete it and move on with life. So. Yeah. I jumped into this right away on the 15th, of course. It's all the good stuff from 1, but bigger and better. So they did like a fantastic job of taking the things that you like about the first one, keeping them, retaining them, improving on the things that like maybe were a little friction filled. And maybe even losing some of the lesser. There's no key shit. Actually, they got rid of the keys entirely, which is fun. Honestly,
they're like 0.5% of players.
There's all these keys. Maybe these keys are stupid. Yeah, and that's funny. I didn't think of that, but that exact connection that I hadn't finished that, and that they were gone from this. But I did have the thought at one point where like a more appealing chest was found the other day, and I was like, I'm surprised that they don't have keys for this. It's good. It's 100% them looking at data. Probably that's hilarious. Yeah. In any event,
everything's data driven these days, Josh.
Especially on a game that big, for sure. Yeah. Dude. So the thing, and I described this with the first one, but what's amazing about it is it's always forcing you to think. It's never just whack and like. And I played it for a while, like the arena, it still has like very traditional arena battles where you enter a space, you can see it coming from a mile away. Like I'm walking into this expansive space. I know like it does this, like these flames come up on the edge that confine you to the battle, and like you just see it coming. So you know what's going to happen. And I played a lot of it just kind of trying to whack and not being strategic about it because the difficulty level didn't force me to. And then I've gotten into a place where like, some of them are against like vastly higher levels and like relative to where you're at. And you know, I've even seen some shit on the subreddit and stuff. People are like, what the fuck, man? Like, I was just whooping ass. And then I walk into this one and I'm just like vaped. And I'm like, and it's because they want you to think. And it has this, and this wasn't in the first one, and this was such a good addition. They have this elemental system. So you have, the fire, wind, earth, water deal. And they also have another one, a life-death one. And like you go to the menu, and at any time you can look at it if you fucking forget it somehow. But like, it has the 4 elementals in a circle, and you see it has an arrow pointing to the next one, so you know what hurts that and what it's weak to. And then the life-death one is next to it, and those are just kind of separate. So it's like a multi-level kind of thing. It's not just the one system, And I think that's interesting, and it makes you think too. But you go into these battles, and the enemies will have a colored armband to them that corresponds to one of the elements or the life or death deal. And so you walk, I played a ton, and now when I've gotten to the point now, I walk into those battles, and immediately I'm like, I'm taking the time to go to my menu. And the thing is, you go into some battles, and they're not all just water. Sometimes it's like, some of them are earth, some of them are wind. And like, you gotta like, then look at what those enemies are and make a choice. What am I going... And you have 2 weapons, too. You have an axe that's a ranged weapon, and a sword that also has a ranged capability, but is more of a melee deal. But you decide what... And you have these runes that you find, that you put on... You adorn the thing with. It's super simple. You just take them from the menu and drop them on your thing. It's not like a crafting system, necessarily. But yeah, it's 100% worth it. And it feels good, too, because when you come out of there, and you start employing that strategy... you visually can see the difference and the increased damage it's doing. And like, it's always a math problem. It's always a thought experiment on like how to approach this, even the big battle stuff, and that is just so much for me, so much more fun than, and there is all this shit too. There's like, your companions in particular have skills that will highlight, they will like, create a weak point on an enemy, one of their arms or their leg or their neck or something, that you can, if you are really into the physical slashing and like trying the swordplay of it, that you can exploit, and it will stun them or hurt them more or whatever. So like, that's in there too, the moment to moment strategy action shit if you want it. But honestly, it's a lot for me, and I have a hard time. I'm getting better at it just because of repetition, but like, that is a hard part for me to really engage. So having this kind of more macro strategy approach, or discovering that, was a real fun thing, for me, and really increased my enjoyment. And none of this shit was present in the first one, like I said. So that was a huge addition to this thing. So there's that shit. There's and then the non-combat based puzzle stuff that this is in the first one. The switching to God mode from first person to the big expanded view, and like, they still have all the hunt stuff. Every time you find one of those, there's like this treasure hunt, these statues that you can find tucked away in the environment. So there's like these simple treasure hunt things that are super fun to do every time you get one of those things. But those are all like, you have to, like the one I just found, getting the second companion, or just got to recruiting the second companion, was super cool. It was like this huge dragon or serpent skeleton in this space, and a lot of the bones had fallen out of it and off of it and stuff, and you had to, your little character had to get up onto the spine and work its way all the way into the skeleton, and that's where the companion was. And that required switching. You have to like switch in and out a lot to like even take same pieces that you might have put one place, and you're like, oh, I think I need to move that piece over here to be able to get to the next part, And there's this like, it's like a bi-level thought puzzle just to progress through this one little thing in one little area. And that was like fucking crack to me. So it's it's so much, so enjoyable, that stuff. And then it still has fewer companions. I think that was a good choice too. There's only 5 in this relative to the 8 in the first one, because I think it condenses more of the mechanics.
8? Oh my gosh.
And they all had, one of them could push a block, one of them could fucking implement this little altar and create platform and like all the and they kind of condense that a little bit into these 5, and I think that was smart. But it still requires you, and I don't know if you could. I don't think you could. No, you could. That was part of it. But you'll have to like you get into a room and you see a space and it's inherently a puzzle, and you look at it and go, okay, there's one of those blocks that my cat can throw an axe at and make disappear. And I'm probably going to need to do that. And then I'm going to have to throw an axe through that. And you can do this thing with your axe where you throw it and then you hit the trigger and you can change its direction. So you can throw it into a space that's enclosed and hit a switch over here, with like a side action, So there's all this, again, there's just so many environmental puzzles. But you'll do that with one character and you're like, I'm going to need to do that. And while that block's still disappeared with that one character's ability, switch to this switch to this Falcon character I just got that can make these platforms raise and lower, or he can also fly your character with your sword has like a whip mechanic to it that can like hold on to things and pull things. So you'll have to like swing up to him and he'll carry you to something. It's kind of more of a coast. You have to like, if you want to go up with him, you have to find these updraft things that will actually push you up because he can't lift your heavy ass up. So, there'll be this combination of these 2 follower mechanics to solve a puzzle. And like, again, it's just so fucking satisfying to like see the space, work that all out, and then work through it. And then, you have errors, of course. You're like, oh, fuck, you got to tweak it a little bit. And like that, again, that's just my management system. It's so fucking good. It is so, so, so satisfying. And they also added for this one, and this is what when I read in that review that Upload VR, or IGN, one of them did, or a preview, they were talking about this being so satisfying, and they were so right. Each one of the followers, can be switched between their like true natural state, like the one is a panther and the other one I found so far is a falcon, between their natural state and like this kind of humanoid companion that will battle with you, So they can, in their animal state, they all have like a fast travel-y mechanic or movement mechanic to them that can change the way you are able to traverse the environment. And the panther can be ridden. That's the first one you get. And it is just, they did such a good job with like the way it feels to ride it, it's because there's these huge desert I told you it's ancient Egypt is the setting. There's these huge desert expanses that these first few levels, at least, that I've gone through have to them. And like when you're first in them without that panther, it's like, fuck, man. Like, it's so commendable that they did that to you to make you feel how much of an upgrade this is to have a mode of transportation in this environment that is like, it's like, God damn, like I got to get all the way over there. Fuck, it's going to take forever, So they make you feel that and in turn appreciate the upgrade, and that was a good choice, I think. But yeah, it just feels so good to do that. And there's all these additional mechanics you can do when you're riding her. There's this great dismount thing. Like you run with her, and you can hit B, and you like dismount over top, and you can like drop into like if you see like a group of enemies that you want to attack, you can fucking charge in there with her, and like run one over, and then jump over the fucking front of her and start battling, and then switch her to her humanoid. It all integrates so well. The battle and the non-battle stuff. So fucking well done. It's such a good game. So fucking good. Nice. Yeah. And it has and this is the real Skyrim equivalent thing to it, I think. Well, Skyrim didn't first of all, it was on first person, and they didn't have the companions in the same way where they like unlock these things. But I think Skyrim still tried to do this a little bit, where you need something and you'll have to come back here later, and you don't even realize there's a POI here yet because you don't have the thing that like unlocks that as a POI. So with these companions, you'll pass things, and you're like, I don't know, I can't interact with this because I clearly don't have some sort of skill that right. or capability that something is going to give me later to employ that. So you'll pass all these things and go through these areas, and you'll like essentially, as far as you can in this moment, 100% something, move on, or even like I hit a stumbling block that I broke through last night for a while. So I was like kind of stuck. And like when you get stuck in this, like you'll try some things like, fuck, it's not working out. I'm irritated, but I don't want to stop playing. And like there's so much stuff that you'll just go back to an area that you already been through and just look for new shit. Because this is very Skyrim equivalent in that like there's always another quest. I don't give a shit how many quests you've done. If you search the area hard enough, you'll find something new to do and be tasked with. And there's just a billion fucking quests to finish, and you'll just never do them all probably. So when you get stuck, you'll just go back and do stuff and find new stuff. And like either way, there's no way you're going to be able to finish an area your first time through it. So you unlock a new character like I did last night, which is what that big stuck point was that huge skeleton and getting to this new Falcon follower. And you're like immediately once you're taught its new mechanics, you're like all these things flood into your mind.
Like I can now do that.
Yeah, I can do that. I got to go back and do that. I got to go back, and like it's just like fuck. So exactly. Whatever they discovered in video gaming that makes us do that, we both just did it. That like emotional outburst we just had, that's the thing. And it does that while you're playing, of course. And that is really good game design because it is incredibly satisfying to have that all unlock in your mind and then immediately just start going back and checking those new boxes off that you left unchecked. And my, of course, ass needs all the boxes checked.
It's funny to me, like hearing you talk about that because the game series where that's most prominent in my mind is the Lego games. Like, because like me and the kids would play through so many of those, and you would have just different types of Legos. Like, for example, like the Jedi, like the most recent Jedi ones. Like the Jedi all have certain abilities and they can like raise and lift things, but the Sith can do different things. They can make things explode. But then like certain people that are like, I forget what they were, like maybe bounty hunters or something, they can actually pick locks, and these other things can actually, they move the gold block. So every time you saw a gold block, you're like, oh, I need the specific type of character. So I don't know. It's employed so many times throughout the different Lego games. I'm immediately like, I recognize that.
That sounds like I would enjoy that for sure. You know what that was making me think of is that tourist game. I feel, and I honestly, it's so long ago I can't exactly remember. I just know I had so much fun playing that. But I feel like there was that stuff where you like had to get new skills, or there was something that would unlock environmental things that you previously could not engage. And I enjoyed that very much. There's a Lego game. They released a Lego game on Quest, and like that sounds like an amazing VR kind of thing. Like it's a AR thing, an augmented reality thing, or mixed reality thing, to my knowledge. So that's probably good. I keep seeing commercials for it too, and it looks kind of interesting. Okay, so just generally speaking, all fucking, there's all these collectathons, like these passive collectathons too, that like you're always on the lookout for. So you're never disengaged from the environment because the collectathon goals are desirable enough that you're always incentivized to finish them, and they're huge and in quantity number. Like there's this 150 statue thing, and like you're always looking for one of those fucking statues. Like fuck, where are they? They could be anywhere, and these worlds are huge, so. You're always engaged in the environment, and that's a good byproduct of that mechanic too. So there's just incredibly engaging video game. It's so fucking good. There's just no part of it where I'm just like, fuck that, I don't want to deal with it. And like there's always something in one of these games you're like, I fucking hate, fuck that, I'm not dealing with that, and like there's just nothing, and everything in it is just like, oh yes, I want that, I want to finish that, I need to finish that. So fucking good. And so, I talked about this with the first one when I first got to the boss battle. So I'm sure in their data they were able to discern this too. I haven't had like one of the big like chapter ending battle. I'm not even that far, even as much as I've played. Probably at this point, I don't know. In fucking a few weeks, man, I probably played. I'm so bad at guessing this, but I don't know. Somewhere 30 hours. I don't know. I played a shit ton already. But I haven't gotten to one of the major boss battles. But I had my first, it's kind of like a side quest deal where I had one kind of in the main quest too, but it felt more mini bossy than like a real huge thing. But I had to go fight this fucking scorpion. They're called Death Stalkers. I posted the video of it, and it's like a 9-minute fucking thing. And like, it's like you find these two god characters, like the one of the undercurrent, I don't know, quest things that you're dealing with in this game is you meet Horus, the god. He's blind, and like he's like, I think he's like the main kind of like I don't know. He's the catalyst for like the main story. Like I forget which god it is now, but took Horus' sight when he was young, and Horus spent all this time like depressed and like thinking he couldn't fulfill his destinies or goals because he was blind, and like you are kind of lining up with him at a time where you do something for him that makes him realize he still is capable of fulfilling his destiny, you know. So you're like he has this outpost that he's been trying to put together to like orchestrate this fucking plan to take out these fucking gods that are his adversaries, and you start with him. There's him and his sidekick and one other little court minion, and you're going out, and like when I found Ptah, that was like the first one, and he becomes the blacksmith at the outpost, and then I found these two other gods that are like the one's like a hunting and fishing enthusiast, and then his dickhead brother is kind of like a chubby cook guy, you know. So they all have like their kind of like skill set that they bring to the group, and they all give you their own little side quests, you know. And when I found the two brothers, the cook one gives you this bait, and he's like, because they were in the scorpion den is where you found them, so they have this particular disposition towards all the scorpions that are out there. So he creates this, like, the Deathstalkers are kind of like the king scorpions, and like they even did a good job when you first are in the scorpion lair and you first encounter this thing. You have this like interlude where you first come in and you see one and have like a brush with one, and it's such a good presentation of like how epic this thing is and how huge it is and how devastating it is. So they did such a good job of like creating this goal for you and then working it out and kind of spacing out or piecemealing out the road to battling it, you know. So they did a really good job with that. But he creates this bait for you, and you know where one is in the desert. They like live underneath the sand, and they create this kind of fucking shit above the sand where you know where they are, but you can't lure them out unless they'll just come up and kill you, you know. You can't get them to come up and battle without this bait. So he gives you this bait. So you go out, you're like, okay, I know where it's at. So you take this bait out. You go into this huge fucking open desert area, and you see the fucking thing moving around in the sand. So you're like, okay, fuck, you know it's gonna be a big deal. But you take the fucking bait out, and you walk up to this fucking thing, and you like throw it out in the sand, and like it fucking scurries around, and then comes up and eats the fucking, and it's like distracted with the bait for a second. And immediately you're like, oh, fuck, and you start fucking trying to, you know, whatever. I have no idea how to engage it or kill it. It's a huge scorpion, so of course it's armored, like, and it has the big pinchers and shit. And like, you start whacking at it and shit, and then once it finishes the bait, it like acknowledges you and bears down on you. And like, dude, I can't explain it. It's a level of epic that like, I can't believe they can pack into a video game. It's just, it's so. And it's so involving and like, I don't know, I mean, like I know I'm in a video game, but holy fuck does it feel like a deal, man. It just feels like a fucking deal. It's so big and crazy and so much fucking fun, but it feels so high. I guess high stakes is what I'm going for. It feels so high stakes in a way that I've never gotten from a video game. It always feels like I know I can do this again, you know. Yeah. And you know, there's plenty. This is like all the modern games. It is, you die, you just go to the other. It's not like it doesn't. There's no real punitive thing. It's not
punitive, yeah.
It actually, in one way, this game kind of is a little hard. And I don't play enough modern games maybe to know how prevalent this is. But it does, if you know, you use items in battle, your consumables and stuff. When you die, you don't get those back. It doesn't just reboot you to where you last saved. You go back to that point, but you lost all the shit you tried to invest into that fight. So it is semi-punitive in that regard.
Okay,
you know?
Yeah, that's different.
So it's that. Yeah, there is some level of like, you know, fuck, I used an awful lot of shit. Can't do that again. You know, and like, yeah, the first one I died the first time, and like I had only gotten 2 of the baits. So I was like, I'm gonna have to go back and buy another one of the baits if I even want to do this again on the second try. So yeah, there is some level of stakes for sure in that regard. But yeah, dude, fucking, you know, I was battling the thing, and like it took me a while to even figure out how to deal with it all, of course. And then like once I got, you kind of like, you use the whip thing on the sword to like pull his pinchers down, and it gets lodged in the sand. You can run up and whack him, and you do that a few times, and he starts using the tail to hit you. And then once you have his meter down to a point, a quarter or something, you can then grapple the tail and get up onto his back. And like my initial instinct is, because they've already done this to you in a few of both the first game and this one, where you get up onto its back and you're just hitting its head. And like, dude, I am fucking minutes of like multiple times seeing what I have to do, I think, getting up onto its back and like hitting everything, dude. Fucking turning around trying to hit the tail, and like hitting the fucking head, stabbing everything, and like it would just knock me off. No damage done. I'm like, and like it happened so many fucking times in this battle. I'm like, what? And like it's so exhausting. I've been going for 9 minutes. Like think about one of these
the game off.
Yeah, see, dude, like it's fucking just so long you've been going, it's VR, so it's physical too. You're like, I'm not just like my fingers aren't tired. I am tired. You know, I am like, especially a few times into it, you're on his back. You were like physically, like really fucking lurching, trying to like, you know, you get into it, dude, like trying to fucking actually do damage to this thing that's not actually in your room. And like, yeah, dude, I was fucking so exhausted. And like, dude, when I killed it, I didn't know how I killed it. I still don't know. I've killed a second one since, because they of course have things you can fucking farm off them that are valuable, and I still even killed the second one. I don't know exactly what I did. Like,
does it not tell you when you're doing damage? Is it one of those things?
I mean, it's VR. It is probably telling me, but it's VR, and I am fucking like high octane, swinging my arms around and shit. Like you can't. It's not. You can't. It's not the same.
There's not like a meter. It doesn't give.
There is he has a meter above him, yes. But when you're on top of him, stabbing him, you don't. You're not looking at the meter's above him. You're not looking at his meter. You're like looking what you're doing. You're looking at your hands. That's one of the things about VR that's so incredible. It's like it's so involved that you don't. It's you. That's maybe what I've been describing in the macro. Like it doesn't feel like a video. It's so good and big and epic. You're not playing a video game. You are able to. It's not even you're choosing to suspend belief. You are forced to suspend belief because it's so hard and so physically involved that you lose the UI. You lose it, you know, and you're just trying to do the thing. You're just physically trying to do the thing and do it right. It is crazy. It's crazy as fuck. That's why VR is nuts. So yeah, I killed the thing twice. I don't know fucking how I did, but yeah, and that's just the first one of those really big ones that I'm sure this game will be filled with. That it's so good. So nice. Good. So Asgard's Wrath 2 is a good video game. I recommend. I went to Meow Wolf in Vegas, dude. It was so funny to me that we had that long conversation about it, and Amy and I were in Vegas for a wedding, and I don't think I mentioned it to her. I don't see why I would have. But she said something about Meow Wolf. Someone said something about Meow Wolf or something. And we were like, what? Fuck, I looked it up, and like it's in like a few places. It's in, I think, Colorado, like maybe Denver. It's in Vegas, maybe one or two other places. They have these installations. But I went to it, dude. And so, whoa. So when you looked it up, did you see any, when you were Googling it that day, how much did you look at?
Just a little bit. I didn't go super deep.
Okay, man.
But what you went there?
It's
Explain.
It is. I don't even know. I'm not even sure if you're not on drugs, you can really grasp what it is. It's like
a crazy funhouse.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Funhouse. Funhouse is a good comp. That's a good analogy. It's like, so the one in Vegas, it's in this like one of those like fucking, I don't even know what to call. They're like these.
It's like a Mega Mart or like some kind of
right.
Yes. Confusing.
Well, that's the entrance of it. That's like the facade of it. That's not even what it is. But I'm saying like where it's at in Vegas. It's at this building that has like a bunch of restaurants. There's like a Spencer's type store. It's like a young hip hangout place with like, it's got a bar in the middle. They have, you know, crazy ass rides you can ride, you know, like, but are kind of stationary. It's like a technology ride of some kind. There's like art installations all over the space that make it look kind of funky and interesting and young and hip and blah, blah, blah. And like, oh yeah, again, all these different types of stores, like crazy ass Dippin' Dot type ice cream joint. Like, it's just very forward, progressive entertainment space, you know, for
very immersive.
Right. Sure. Yeah. Any buzzword you want, any buzz whatever word you want to use probably applies. So it's on like half of the building is this meow wolf thing. So yes, you walk like it looks. When I first walked in, I really thought it was a grocery store. I walked in and like I didn't know that's what I didn't look at anything. Like Amy looked it up and booked the tickets. I didn't look at anything for it. I just knew it was interesting. I was like, sure, I'll go, whatever. So like we walk into this like place, like the lobby kind of or main area of it, and the entire left side looks like a grocery store. A weird looking grocery store, but in this place it would be a weird grocery store. So it's not out of place and looking weird. But like, so we like walk up to it and I'm like, and I didn't even know it's where we were going. And like, there's like a queue out front and I'm like, God damn, why is there a queue for a grocery store? Why do they even have a grocery store here? And like you walk into it and like you start looking around and like,
oh, man. You
start looking at the products and like it's full of products, but all of them are just slightly weird. They have like, I don't know, like the bags of beef jerky and stuff, and they say weird things on them that are just a little bit fucking off. And like, it's like when I described that video store where I got the Beauty and the Beast tape. Like you're in it and you're like, can I buy this stuff? Like, what is this?
What is happening?
Yeah. So like, it's got this whole facade, and like you start walking around, and like it's unguided. You walk in, there is a person there. She's like, "Do you have any questions?" And you're like, "No, I've never been here before. I don't have any. What would my question be?" And she's like, and I forget. She had like something when you said no to her that was like clearly like company speak. I can't remember what it was. I wish I could. But like basically, it was kind of like you'll figure it out. Be inquisitive, kind of thing. Like don't be scared of anything or whatever, And like, so, you start walking around and like, there's coolers in the back and like some of the coolers just have weird shit in them and you're kind of looking in, you open the door, you look in, you're like, okay, that's fucking weird. And then you get to one cooler and you realize that this cooler is a passage. So you're like, okay, well, I'm going to go in and see what this is. And like you walk in the cooler and it like goes to all this weird shit's going on in there. And then it just opens up into this space that's like bananas, like a fucking acid trip and a half. And it's like, I don't even know where or what to call any of it. It's just like all this crazy shit, multi-level staircases, other things to walk in, crawl through, find, look at. It's very, did you ever go to, it was probably, I think you were gone by the time it came, but did you ever go to Sleep No More in New York?
Sleep
Okay.
No More.
Sleep No More, also very cool. Sleep No More, it took one of those warehouse district, meatpacking district buildings, and like, dude, like 5 floors, and it was a Shakespearean Macbeth, I think it was. It took an entire multi-floor space and turned it into an interactive theater experience where all these actors were running around acting out moments from Macbeth amongst you, and like people were just free to wander, and like the spaces, like the set deck was insane, dude. Like I probably went 4 or 5 times. The one time I spent, you have like maybe 2 hours in the space, and it doesn't like, no one is really, I don't remember anyways, anyone like coming up like, you got to go, like there's no one watching you, at least to that degree that I ever experienced. So I don't know how it always ended up being inside a 2 hour kind of, I just don't know. It's like a masterclass in like live event design, because you would do it forever and like, you just kind of get tired of it eventually. And like, you're like, and you just somehow end up outside. It doesn't make sense. It was insane. But like, I spent the entire time I was there, the one time I found this room with all these books, and I was just sitting in this chair reading all these books in the space with like weird shit written in them, and like, dude, there's, it's like very, like you go once, you can't even see everything. Like the shit's happening at random times and random places. The actors come and go and move, and like they're acting out different things, and like there's just no way to know what. You can, if you want, you can latch on to like one particular actor and just follow them around. And a lot of people I think do that. And I think my first time I might have as well, because it takes some like confidence and I guess comfort in the space to just wander off and like do shit on your own, with no one to guide you at all, Right. I leave the people I'm with, like, fuck you, I'm any interest in whatever you're doing. I'm gonna go completely have my own deal. And like, that's exactly the kind of vibe it is. It's like, Meowwoof, I mean. And like, yeah, you go do whatever you want, interact with whatever you want. There's so many things, interactivity moments, things you can just totally fucking dive yourself into, pick up phones, listen to people talk to you. And this one has a very kind of corporate dystopian vibe to it too. And I love that kind of Fallout humor type stuff of where like they just go too far, you know. And yeah, just fucking nuts, dude. Really crazy. Highly recommend. But it was just funny to me that we had that long conversation. And I still haven't got, because I've been playing Asgard's Wrath nonstop, I still haven't bought the fucking course in Walkabout, which is crazy. And I need to. Maybe I'll do that as soon as I get off. So I force myself to play. Because I definitely need, after experiencing it in real life, I definitely need to play the golf course. So yeah, that was interesting. And then I've also been power washing and Dungeons of Eternia as well. They did an upgrade for the holidays, dude. And they added a new enemy. I was bitching about the spaces getting repetitive. They've added new environmental spaces, which was a huge upgrade. But it is, well, the default is way harder. They also added a mechanic where you can change the difficulty level before you go into the mission. And, you know, I'm level 39 now. So, like, I've been letting it, I haven't played it a ton, but when I do, I just kind of let it default to whatever, or I'm not even in control of it because I'm entering a dungeon where players are already the dungeon master, so I hadn't even seen the interface until last night. But the fucking holy shit, is it harder? Like I am dying constantly. They added this new enemy that's like this kind of like Cerebus looking thing that runs around very fast, and they have elemental things to them too. So some of them freeze you, some of them set you on fire or whatever. But they move very fast. They have 2 swords, and they're fucking devastating fucking enemies, especially at high levels. So they 100% have upped the difficulty level, or at least the difficulty that can exist because of the difficulty slider you can change now. So yeah, I need to turn the level down basically because I mean literally I was in when I texted you last night about it. I did 2 runs. The first one, I died with kind of some low-level players, so that's not a big deal. But the second one, I was with a level 50 person and a level like 44 person. And we died 2 times in a row in the first room. You know, damn, so like players even more advanced than me, and they're probably playing nonstop, still getting dusted off. So yeah, and that's, you know, before this update, that, you know, not finishing a level was borderline impossible. So if you know what you're doing, so that is a big change. That's interesting. If not anything else. And there's the holiday shit too, dude. You haven't been in? Have you seen any of the holiday stuff? You got to go. You have to get in there before New Year. I imagine that's when they'll take it away. You got to go in there and take a look at that. It is so cool and fun, dude. There's like snowballs everywhere you can hit each other with. There's all these gifts and Santa or Christmas tree shit everywhere. It's really, they did a really good job of holidaying it up. Down by that Grim Reaper dude in the Souls room, they have this huge present pyramid that is super cool. It's like they did a really good job of doing the holiday stuff, and you get holiday gear too. Like I have a Santa hat. You like find there's ice chests now that have only holiday gear in them that you find in the levels that you can get. There's like Santa's candy cane staffs and Santa staffs and like all sorts of Santa suits and elf gear and all this shit that's very holiday minded that I'm sure you won't be able to get if you don't get now. So pretty fun. So that's still happening in the back burner too, but mostly Asgard's Wrath too.
Theme 1 from the Battle of Midway, 1943.
In 1943, our main fleet began an intense battle off the coast of Midway Islands. Help our fleet defeat the enemy. That's it. That's the whole shkabo. It gets a whole page in the manual titled 1943 Story, but that is all we need. And you can sell me the whole seat, but I'm only going to need the edge. What type of game is this?
I wonder what it is. It's a vertical scrolling flying shooter.
Indeed it is. So how did you not love it, Jay? I don't understand. It was released in October 1988 in North America after a June 20th drop back in Japan. And given the, I don't know, I guess, I don't think I'd look that up, but I don't think it did. It's crazy that it's so like pro-US propaganda. They went so far with that. And that's kind of like one of the things about these games that is kind of well known. But it does, no matter how many times I've read it, it does still kind of blow my mind that, you know, this like, it's not anti-Imperial Japan, but it is very like, you're fucked, buddy, Imperial Japan, you know? And like, it's just, I'm surprised that they wouldn't, you know, just reskin it as, from a Japanese perspective, as far as the story goes, for a Japanese release. That's surprising to me.
Yeah. That to me was the most surprising thing, and really the only interesting thing I found from an old history standpoint, is the fact that like this game and 1942, its predecessor, were both created by Japanese developers. Like, what are we doing? Like, it's
we are cashing checks.
Those Americans really like this stuff. Here we go.
Yeah, they love it. Those self-indulgent cunts love this stuff.
Can you imagine? Like, just think about that. That's nuts to me.
Yep. The cover art is some nice illustration artwork. Adorning the box cover, our hero dual prop plane, hot on the tail of a single prop plane, just above open water, and a flame but still firing its guns aircraft carrier in the background. The title's up top, and this era of Capcom NES joints all straddle the title with some chest-pounding pitch copy. In this case, it reads, all the arcade actions. I wrote actions. I feel like they probably didn't fuck that up, though, so it probably says action. And the other one reads, the ultimate air-sea battle. And on the back of the box, they go above and beyond with screenshots, 4 of them in this case. And in all of those, they wisely feature huge boss battle sprites. There are 2 battleships, a massive bomber plane, and something I was not quite able to discern before having played the game. I couldn't tell what the 4th one was at the time. But all good-looking stuff. And there is unique table setting copy back here, too. The most crucial and decisive battle of World War II is about to be fought by you. Enemy forces are descending upon Midway Island. Enemy bombers, dive bombers, and Zeros are roaring over the island like a typhoon. The surrounding Pacific waters are teeming with enemy aircraft carriers. As the top gun of the Navy's most elite crew of fighter pilots, you must pilot your specifically outfitted P-38 into the very midst of the enemy squadron. Equipped with an array of secret weapons, only you can turn the tide against the formidable enemy fleet. Jesus Christ. The outcome of history's most fateful air-sea battle rests in your hands. Can you avenge Pearl Harbor? And yeah, that's a heavy choice by Capcom at the end for the reasons we just discussed. Right? Yeah. And you know what? I'm fucking reading this, man. I didn't do an economic analysis, and I just thought of one just as I was reading that. This specific plane, P-38, I imagine is a real plane. I didn't research that, but I would guess it is. And coming up with the math problem for an actual plane that existed, of like doing these missions and whatever, wouldn't have been that hard and would have been kind of interesting, I think. So I am feeling very regretful inside for not giving the disciples a due holiday gift of a boring economic analysis for them to dive into here in the final episode of the year. I'm sorry. The manual is 20 pages with covers, color on the front and black and white the rest of the way. They open with a Captain Commando special message. I don't recall seeing one of these in quite some time, so that was fun to go back to these. I love this little deal. But this one reads, thank you for selecting Fun-Filled 1943, one of the exclusive Nintendo Entertainment System video games from the Captain Commando Challenge series. 1943, created by Capcom, premier worldwide arcade game designer, features colorful, state-of-the-art, high-resolution graphics. High resolution, Jay. Look the fuck out.
Oh my gosh.
Capcom
has some high resolution graphics. This game, I would not put in that category.
Dude, for NES, it looks pretty fucking good, I think. It definitely looks a lot better in 1942.
Oh my gosh.
And this is, what, 88, right? I said, what did I say? Yeah,
this game does not look good. Oh my gosh.
It's 1988. It's fucking, this is early. This is not like a 1991 game.
I know. This looks like Xevious. This is Atari.
No, it's not Xevious. Get out of here with Xevious. Get out of here with Xevious.
Facts on facts on facts.
Out of your goddamn mind.
Wait a minute. I just thought of something, though. The fact that at the end of that soliloquy, it mentioned, can you get revenge on Pearl Harbor? Like, I wonder if that was...
That's what I was talking about.
That
Yeah,
was their whole thing. Just like, F you, that's what we did. Now, let's make some money.
Maybe
if you want to...
If you want to really dive into it, that's true. Like, you lost, bitch, actually.
Right? Like, that's kind of an interesting... Anyway, I just found that funny.
Yeah, it's like Miami Dolphin fans talking about the one game they've won in the last 10.
Hey, you got to look for the silver lining somewhere, Josh.
Yeah, they just keep tweeting the picture of Josh Allen exhausted from playing on the planet of the sun, like 110 degree heat last year when they lost by 3 points or whatever. Yeah. Anyways, so this is getting back to the manual. Pages 8-9 cover the power-up point system for your P-38. That's the fighter plane model, but there isn't much to say about the system. It's just categories of offensive power, defensive power, energy level, special weapons time limit. And I'm guessing special weapons without any further descriptors means the power of it was always my interpretation.
Same. Yep.
Each level starts at 1, and you get 3 points at the start of the game to add to these levels as your like starter pack plane build. And then throughout the game, you'll have opportunities to add to those.
I did not expect that much the level of add-on points that you would be able to add on, right? Like we had the theory at the beginning. I kind of expected just like once every couple levels kind of a thing. So I was surprised when the pace.
Me too, and I don't think I found many of the early ones.
Probably so, yeah.
So, and yeah, that is my guess in hindsight, is that every level has one of those to find.
Every level?
I think so, and I think it was just a matter of once you find them the first time, and for me it was, I don't know, level 3 or something maybe, and you notice that you see those bullets hitting nothing, and then something appear after you do it enough times. Once you have that moment, you're like, oh, I need to be looking for those, and also looking for. I need to be looking for that thing happening to my bullets when they're not hitting something, you know what I mean? Yep. And once you know to look for that, it probably registers a whole lot quicker and more frequently than before it had happened, and the first time it happened, too, I don't think I really internalized it. I didn't realize what happened fully, Once it happens a few times, I guess I should say, you really come to understand that that's how that flowchart works, at least for me. But yeah, I was surprised, too. I didn't expect to be able to have. I didn't finish with every level maxed out, or every category maxed out rather, but pretty close. And I did not expect to have that develop of a plane at the end. I thought it would be a little more, whatever. Like
I thought it was more of pick your balance. Like, are you going to be more all offensive?
Precisely. And honestly, kind of a thing? You do spend a lot of the game doing that, so it's not like that's lost. Like I said, I didn't quite fill it up. It's not like I was full on like a third of the way through the game or anything. So you have some of that for sure, but I didn't expect to be able to get to the near maxed out level I was at. And like I said, I definitely missed some too. So you probably can max out earlier than the end of the game, I would guess. Page 10 is a power-up pickup breakdown, and they explain it as you shoot red planes to get the initial POW icon, and then you can shoot that icon after it appears to cycle it through different options that you actually pick up by flying over. And there are 8 possibilities listed. The initial thing, the POW, and if you don't shoot them at all, this is what you get, and it's just additional energy, it says. There's the shotgun, 2 words. And this is the ultimate weapon to destroy enemy bullets, is what it says. I don't know. To me, it was nice. It doesn't explain it here, but it is a 3-way shot. But it's not as good as the actual 3-way shot, which is the next thing you pick up. It's like this, like a larger empty circle going 3 directions, and they're slower and they do less damage, I feel. Or maybe not, maybe they do less damage, they just don't fire fast enough to do as much damage cumulatively, maybe is the way to say it.
Right. I think it's a 5-way shot, isn't it? Isn't it a 5-way shot?
Oh, you're right. Actually, you're right. You're right. It is a 5-way shot. Yep.
But it is the circles, and it starts out shorter, so it's kind of like,
right.
I got more spread, more coverage, but I got to be closer up.
And they don't explain it here. And I guess they don't need to. I don't know, because not understanding it for a number of levels did kind of frustrate me. But you can, if you pick up 2 of those shotguns, it changes into a more advanced shotgun. And like that should be explained here, I think, because that is critical to know. And until I got the 3-way shot later, yeah, like I don't know. Yeah, that should be explained here. There's really nothing else you need to say. That should be explained here. But the 3-way shot is the player can shoot in 3 directions instead of 5, but they're way faster. And yeah, if you like
more damage too.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, I don't know. There's no way to know that for sure. But because it fires faster. Yeah, exactly. Because you can kill stuff faster for sure. But I'm saying that might not be because the bullets do more damage. It might be because they fire faster and they hit the thing more frequently, in turn doing more cumulative damage. You know what I mean?
Well, the way I took it, and that's also because of the comparison with the 5-way shotgun. When the 5-way shotgun gets like morphed, upgraded, it converts you only have one circle. Like,
right,
and the rest are like the 3-way shotgun.
Right.
So it's much more powerful for all the other non-circle shots. So that's the way I took the 3-way shot. Is that hey, you get just 3 ways of that powerful shot, and when you upgrade it, it's even more powerful. So, to me, that's more powerful than the circles in general.
We're senselessly parsing minutia by having that discussion. The 3-way shot is unquestionably better. Is really what we should just.
It's definitely better. I like the spread of the 5, but realistically,
and like early on,
before I found out about the 3, really.
Right, exactly, and like you don't, I don't know the exact, because again, and that's that's to this game's credit, I think. This system of having to shoot it to change it into things, and that might sound simple. It is not.
My gosh!
It is
practice.
Yes, it is a huge thing about your experience in this game. Is like hitting it while dealing with everything happening around you, and changing it into the thing you want, and. You later on in particular, it is impossible to.
It's so impossible.
To get it to. It's not like you can just you shoot the planes, the POW appears, I fully dedicate to turning it into what I want, and then I get back to what I was doing. No. You have to juggle one shot on the pickup, one shot blowing some shit up, avoiding some shit, flying around where you're no longer able to even shoot the POW, getting back to it. Shooting it again, doing that loop again, and in all that,
and if you have auto rapid fire on, it might shoot
exactly.
Too
you
much,
might hit
so
it accidentally.
Cycles past what you want.
Right.
You're like, no, it was supposed to stop.
Or you accidentally pick it up before you wanted to. There's just so many things that can go wrong in really trying to get what you want out of those. And on top of that, it's, as far as you know, anyways. I'm sure it's in the code, not random, but. From your perception as the player, it's random what it's going to turn into at different times. It I'd say it kind of reliably cycles between energy, fuel, and a weapon. So you know that. Yeah. But other than that, you don't know what it's going to turn into at the next weapon change. You know what I mean? Or weapon pickup change. So yeah, it is a fucking system and a half to deal with, juggle, and really exploit, and it can just kill your soul. I mean, without fucking save scumming. Oh my god, some of those later stages where you're like, I need this to be one thing to have any shot of dealing with what is coming next.
Like how can I beat this without that weapon? Like I don't know how,
or some more fuel, or whatever it is you're trying to get. Like, how can I possibly not get what I need from this? And to not get it and not be able to just go fuck you and hit F7 or F4 rather. In my case, whoa.
It's like I might just have to go back I might be on the boss of that mission. I might just have to go all the way back to the beginning and do a continue.
Oh, for sure,
just to start over because I got to get a different weapon. Like this. I can't win this way.
I used obviously I'm safe coming in any game like this. It goes without saying. But I don't know. I'm not keeping a log of this. That would be another spreadsheet of the 80 million I've started for this podcast. But I probably used somewhere between 15 and 20 save slots. So that's high as fuck for me. Most games I can finish in 10 in single digits, Even because you're caught. There's 2 reasons I do a lot of them. One is obviously save scumming yourself into a hole. This has continues and shit, so you're just going back to the end stage. So it's not terribly punitive. So yeah, that's not even a big worry. I also do a lot of them because I need to be able to I want to look at the boss battle I just had again. and be able to make notes out of it and shit, and kind of get a better understanding of what the hell just happened, because it's an action game, so you're not able to fucking parse it all in your head as you're doing it, especially the first time. I used a lot of fucking save slots in this because, for that very reason. Like, there's just so many. A later game, I'm like at the fucking end of at the start of the first fucking area, so the second area, start of the fucking boss battle, like all of it. I'm doing a different one because I want to have options when I inevitably am going to need to go back and redo this, because I'm in a fucked up degraded position rather.
It's funny. Once I switched over from playing on my Mac, where I was using Launchbox, and it was super easy to kind of like, have multiple slots like that. Once I moved over to this, it's much harder for me to do that. So I just kind of
you got to get the system down, dude. It's just it's super simple, dude. It's F2 saves, F4 loads, F6 and 7 move your save slot right or left or up or
down. It's funny because I started out using RetroArch and I was like, what is going on? Like, I was using it and I had some issues. Oh, I know what it was. I take that back. Once I switched over from the stupid NES controller to the Advantage, I couldn't get my Advantage to like pair and work. So I was like, what is going on? So I just went straight with NES-topia and just used that because it paired with no problem and I was able to play. So like I felt I was less used to the interface and everything there.
Sure, yeah.
So I was just like, whatever, I'm saving, and wherever I go, that's where
that's
I go.
The thing, too, dude.
That sucked, man.
If you're switching, you gotta have, because you gotta do the shit in the moment. It's just like pressing a button on your controller in the action, like being able to save scum at the right times in a game like this. You try to pause, sure, but not always able to or think to do it, whatever. There are plenty of times where I didn't, it's a lot for sure, especially if you're not familiar with your fucking UI, your emulator UI, rather.
I was like, where's this is not the same. I was like,
yeah. And like, dude, and like F2 and F4, they're not far apart for the same.
I was very afraid to do that too.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, I'm clicking on the menu, like which one? Yeah. Like, okay.
I started since we're on this fucking rant, I started the side quest on Phantasy Star, so I'm using my handheld for that little Abernick deal. And like it's a different unit. I've played whole RPGs on it, but I haven't done that. We haven't done an RPG in a while, so I haven't played on this thing in a while. And like it's a whole deal. The way you do the fuck's the name of that UI? It's the one that's on the PlayStation. I forget the name of it now. It doesn't matter. But it has that operating system. And the way you bring it up, and it's just a menu of things. You don't have hotkeys because it doesn't have a keyboard. So you pull the menu up with a double click of both the joysticks or the analog sticks, and then it brings up this menu. And there are 4 things in a row I use in this menu that moves vertically. There's take screenshot. There's change save slot, and you have to you click on that and you can change the number. And then there's save state and load state, all 4 in a row. And like, especially that when I want to change, because with an RPG in particular, I want to use save state so I can go back to things if I need to whatever when I sit down and do the notes after I hit a stopping point. So like, I have to be like super fucking careful where I'm always like, I look at it, I read it once, I stop a second. And I like clear my mind and I read it again. And then I hit the button. Because if you just like blow through things, you're saving states on places, you're saving on the wrong fucking save states, you're changing state, And like the save state, even from just a convenience perspective, when you change the save slot, for some reason it like takes longer than makes fucking sense for it to go to that new save slot menu. And even if I'm not fucking myself from a save state perspective, it's just annoying to sit and wait for that if I don't want to be changing save slots. So like there's like 2 levels of like, I'm just got to be super careful of what I'm fucking doing here just because of UI bullshit. So yeah.
That
is the thing with podcast.
I'm very nervous about starting Fantasy Star 2 for that reason.
I'm having fun, dude.
Mine always pops up like Kega Fusion full screen, and I can't do that. Like I need to be able to see what's going on. It's caused issues in the past, so I'm gonna have to work out an entirely new situation that I'm comfortable with.
RetroArch, dude. You have RetroArch. Download the fucking. It's the Genesis.
The Genesis
GX.
Core.
Yeah,
I'm sure I have it because I'm sure I have it. I just need to go through it there and make sure it's all set up correctly, and I'm comfortable before I start with that. Because I am not starting over again.
For sure. Yeah, no, you retro, dude, you got it. I told you, I've already done the rants on here on multiple RetroArch, yes, the startup cost is high, emotional and time-wise relative to most other emulators. But once you're going, it's so much better. It's so much easier and cleaner, and it feels better, and it's just modern, and it take the time to figure it out because it'll make your life better, and all that shit will go away. Fair enough. All that UI friction stuff will go away. The games will still be frustrating. Although, like I say, it's going well. Phantasy Star's going well. I have no experience with this game at all, and I'm enjoying myself. For sure. And it's goofy as fuck, dude. It's super goofy. It's very anime goofy, not like anything we've played tonality-wise, you know? Mm-hmm. There's some personality in there that I think just comes with Sega naturally relative to Nintendo stuff that I think is going to be a lot of fun to talk about and a lot of fun to play and get into. So you'll enjoy it, I think. I have a positive outlook towards this. Back to the fucking POWs, power-ups rather, there's also an auto shot. I don't think I ever found this. It shoots 8 times while the button is pressed down once is what it says. I'm using turbo anyways, so that's why it didn't matter to me. I don't know how to even
notice that.
Yeah.
Same.
There are the energy tanks, of course. These partial energy recovery. There's the super shell. Looks like a bomb. I don't think I ever got this. Maybe I did see it towards the end a couple times. But you're just like, this is the thing, too. We'll talk about it later. But once, these things, you're on a timer with these. And that took me a while to understand that even. But the length of time you have them is never enough, basically. Mm-hmm. And what you're doing is, late game, when you really need that three-way shot in particular, is you're constantly managing keeping that timer with time on it. So you're not gonna. I wouldn't even think about picking up something that's going to change that.
Yeah, are you kidding me?
Experiment or something?
Are you kidding me? No I need to pick up the 3-way shot again. I need to keep that going. I need to keep that going.
Right.
Priority and keeping that going.
And the scarcity of this was probably devastating, and we probably made our life harder by not doing that. But it feels like there's too much at stake to experiment when this was probably ever available to us. So yeah, I don't think I ever saw it, and if I did, I was too busy to engage it. So I never really fucked with that. There's the Yashichi or Yashichi, and it looks like a pinwheel. This is the maximum energy recovery pickup. And
I saw
it. Those were often. You didn't cycle through those. Those were often when you found the planes that gave you those. That's all you could get from them, and they were off. It was awfully are often right before a boss or pretty close to entering the boss area. As a little fucking olive branch for maybe what they just did to you. And the last one is a side fighter, another plane. I definitely never saw this.
I saw it once. I saw it early on, and then I never saw it again.
Yeah, I never saw this. Increases offensive power is what it says. It goes naturally if there's another plane. I think I read or... Yeah. Okay, yeah, I think I read or heard that it makes you...
It's like a double.
Right, but that plane can also be hit. Is what I read or heard in this video that I'll talk about later. So it made you more vulnerable.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that part because I didn't have it for that long.
Right.
That would suck if that's the case.
Yeah, that was yeah. Obviously, there's so many close calls in the maneuverability or maneuvering through these stages and these flight fucking formations of enemies and shit like that.
Can't be bigger. Definitely can't be bigger.
Not appealing an idea at all.
I feel like it was one of those half flickery things where it wasn't like a double plane. It was like a double plane, but it was flickery, so you looked like you shouldn't have been able to get hit,
like a ghost ghost plane. Yeah, maybe
that was the intent.
Like I said, I never had it, so I can't speak to it. Page 11 is a breakdown of a bunch of bonus point pickups. There's strawberries, barrels, cows, stars, alpha. That's what it calls it. It's a spacesuit guy, a cat, a flower. Here's the weird thing. Some of those were, I know a cow once was the thing that got me to the upgrade screen. I know for a fact it was a cow once. It was often that bamboo shoot deal, which I didn't know what the fuck it was.
It was always the shoot thing for me. I picked up the cow many times. And
I saw it as not a thing too, but I definitely went to a cow once and it took me to the fucking upgrade thing. I'm positive of it. So...
it was usually the flower. It was usually the flower for me. Always the flower took me there, and then I think maybe the barrel as well. But
the flower
cow
or the bamboo shoot? I don't know if I ever saw what I would call a flower.
Well, I'm talking about like if you look at the characters, the pictures on page 11.
Okay, yeah, I don't have it up. I don't have it up right now, but I bet. Let me.
Okay, in the manual, like if those characters are the things
I actually want to know this. So let me.
The only thing I saw that took me there always was the flower, because I was like, "What is that weird looking thing?" And it looked like what they call the flower.
Okay, then that probably is it. Because I posted it on the. I was asking on the fucking socials, and one of our Instagram disciples, Linux Punk, was like, "Oh, that's a bamboo shoot," and he even sent me a DM of a real live action photo of a bamboo shoot, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, I buy that."
I mean, that thing, the flower bamboo shoot. Every time I saw it, I was like, "Ooh, PowerPoint." Take me to the screen, and then like I said, a barrel or something else. But whenever I was hitting the cow, it was just like, oh, just points or something. So
usually, less. Yeah, I saw a bunch of these things, barrels and shit here and there.
I'd grab them if I could, but it was kind of like, oh, whatever.
Let me get it up here. Flower, yeah, that is. Yep, that's exactly it. Yeah, I see. I didn't remember this because it doesn't look like a flower at all. That's a fucking not a flower.
Not in the game. Petals. It doesn't look like a flower. Yeah.
It doesn't in the manual either. Neither one of these things look like flowers. They look like fucking some sort of nut or something. Yeah. Pages 12 to 13 cover a password feature, which is something I did not expect this game to have, but it's pretty dope. And it's only 5 alphanumeric characters, not too shabby or complicated. And page 14 is an ad for other Capcom joints, and then they have 2 pages for hints, scores, and memos. And the bottom of the first one credits Paul Biderman for the instruction manual, and I don't recall ever seeing that for one of these or in one of these manuals.
A single
for these
person.
Games. Yeah, giving support and like credit to a specific artist is a very credible and cool thing to me. They also have the game counselor line, hours and number, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific.
Because they knew you were going to be pissed off and just like you're going to need to call somebody. Are you kidding me?
But Jay, we got to do it.
Who is this going to call?
Yeah. We'll ask him about this flower stuff is what I want to. That's what I want to know.
Oh man.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
I didn't even know that could happen anymore. I can't remember the last
sound. Yeah, I haven't heard that sound in a long time.
Sound and that message, which that is from like the fucking 80s, man. That has been around forever, and I can't remember the last time I called a number that was just disconnected. There's like a bot running every available phone number
because they recycle them. People purchase them now.
Right.
So
that's crazy, right? Maybe Capcom still owns it somehow, and
they're like, nah, hold this one. We got
yeah.
Gotta lock that down. And that's one of our lines.
Well, that was a fun blast from the past. Get any Game Genie codes?
I did not, man. When I was playing on my NES controller, I said, I'm absolutely freaking going Game Genie. I pulled up the codes. I even have the codes all listed here. But when I looked at them, it was kind of like, start on mission 5, start on mission 10, 15, 20. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. That's definitely cheating. Definitely cheating. Right, yeah. And then the other choices were like infinite power. And so I'm like, that's
the point. Also, yeah, you're just going to be on autopilot the whole way. That won't be any fun at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I thought about infinite weapon upgrade time. So I'm like, does that just mean I just leave it on the whole time? Either way, everything felt like I would be cheating.
Too OP,
and so, but at the time, I was like, I'm going to pick one of these and I'm going to roll with it. But then once I picked up the freaking advantage, I felt like I was good enough and didn't really need those because then I would really be cheating. Because at that point, you got to have all these other things to play. Why are you even playing the game? Like you might as well forget it if you have a regular controller at that point.
Right. So agreed. Well, I am adding a new segment here. It occurred to me that we should be doing, and I'm calling it Lunchroom Table Tip Eavesdrops. And this is essentially mag appearances of it that we have passed in our timeline already that might have interesting things for us to employ in our gameplays. And or in a gameplay rather. And issue 8 of Nintendo Power has a classified info appearance of this, and this it's titled Super Shot. And basically, dude, I didn't think of this until after I'd been playing the game for a while, and this is a huge thing that is not in the manual. And that's crazy. It's to me, it's simple functionality that needs to be in the manual. But basically, if you just hold B without turbo on, important to say, I suppose, in our cases, until you hear a whistle sound cue, and that lets you know you're fully powered up. But it powers your attack up, and when you release it, it drops this big-time attack from any of your weapons. This is any of your weapons.
What?
Do this. Yes. Agent 127 mentions this is particularly helpful for aircraft carrier and other large ship boss battles. And yeah, it just blows my mind this is not in the manual, right?
What?
Yeah.
See, the fact that this is not in the manual, I never got to experience this. Okay. And that they credited some Paul Biederman in the manual. Right. Like, were they just gonna?
Yes, we need to call Paul. We need to look up Paul's number right now.
It's almost like It's almost like they created the arcade game. They're like, let's make another one. We need another one. They weren't even going to come up with a manual. They're like, can somebody do something? Somebody do something.
Fucking Paul.
We're required to have a manual. We can't ship the game without somebody do something. Paul.
Right. Yeah. And yeah. Here, you want to do.
Paul's like, all right, let me. Paul
you want to dive even deeper on this? Paul does the manual, and they realize there's a bunch of shortcomings with it. And that's why they credit Paul. They're throwing him under the bus. They're not actually crediting him. They're throwing Paul under the bus. That's why you only see this for Paul. It's because Paul shit the bed, and they want you to know it's Paul's fault.
This is Paul's fault. If you have any issues, here's the number to the counselors. Yeah. Call us. Wow, they foresaw this coming.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that number is disconnected now because Paul's fucking fired, and it went straight to Paul's desk.
Unbelievable, man. I cannot believe.
That's pretty fun. I don't know about not ever having turbo on in a general sense, but employing this, it is visibly different when you do it. It does like a visibly different deal. And honestly, I wish I had known about it the whole time, and I wish it was something that I felt more encouraged to employ and wasn't so dependent on always being on turbo, because what it does is it's the shooter mechanic that we praised Philios for, and we really liked about Philios, that you had to make that real-time fast-paced decision, like the cost benefit weight to either firing constantly or charging it up, and deciding how, employing that moment to moment. I think this game's too hard to do that though.
I'm like, how do you even do that?
Right. But and honestly, maybe that is what really the agent is alluding to, in that it's most beneficial for the ship boss battle. Because what it does is it's kind of a persistent shot, I suppose, that can kind of pass through things. So you can do damage to all those guns that are in a row, you know what I mean, at once, as opposed to just only being able to shoot the front one, But so again,
I'm so mad I'm learning this right
now. I mean, I wasn't even knowing this, dude. I think it's still better, and I felt more comfortable using the 3-way shot on turbo because there's air cover too, dude. And like, you need to be, I need that like side fire to protect my peripheries.
There's always stuff coming at you.
Right. So if you're really good, it probably is a net positive to be able to employ this on the ships themselves. But I think you gotta be really good at taking down that air fire while you're doing that to be able to employ this, but it was interesting to read and certainly worth mentioning here, no question. And yeah, I didn't do an economic analysis. I'm regretting that now, but let's move on. Commencing Attack 1 theme, I guess. And we are talking our playthrough of 1943 on the Nintendo Entertainment System. We cut the system on, or when you do cut the system on, an aircraft carrier is out at sea, too long to even fit on the screen. Just a pan across it, and the title theme toots up. Text starts popping up next to the aircraft carrier. It reads, in 1943, our main fleet and the enemy's mobile unit have begun an intense battle off the coast of Valhalla Island. As it types those words, the accompanying sound effect is that of an old-school Morse code transmission that you might see in a black and white movie. And it's grating, but very appropriate. So I thought it was a cool addition.
Yep.
Then 2 formations of 3 bombers, each come cruising in overhead and blow it to smithereens, the carrier. And we pan across it as it does that. 1 small fighter plane appears and flies off. And then the text reads, "During the battle, we have suffered tremendous losses and lost the carrier Hawk Nest. You are our only hope. Destroy Tataku." And the plane flies off the deck, and we cut to the title screen. It's just 1943, real big in white outline. A drop shadow and solid ocean blue accents it. And there's some legalese and the option to start or password. 2 words on password. I don't know why they always did that in old games. I guess passwords weren't a thing yet. That's why. I checked out the password entry screen to see how fucked it was, and the answer is not very fucked. It is indeed only 5 characters, working with numbers 0 through 9, and the full alphabet, all capital letters. 0 does have a line through it, and that's the only possible bullshit error you could make if you're being responsible when jotting your shit down in the memo area of the manual. So, golf clap, Capcom. Between this and the Mega Man 2 password matrix system, if you remember that, it's pretty clear cut to me that Capcom is the industry leader in password system ideation here on the NES years. For sure.
For sure. They did it right.
Going to start here. We cut to the plain PowerPoint distribution screen that has its own dedicated banger menu track. Again, we have 3 to work with here at the beginning. And what did you go with, Jay, for your initial power distribution?
So my first thought was, okay, I'm going all offensive power. But really, what I did end up going with was 2 offensive and 1 defensive. Although I was very confused making that decision because the manual said this was a 1-hit death mechanic. So I'm like, what does defensive even do? But if it helps me, if I get an extra, hit, I'm going to go for that. So that's what I did. What about you?
I went real basic, bitch, knowing I'll probably be overly conservative with my special attacks, or thinking I would be, I should say. And I dropped a very balanced approach of 1 on the first 3 categories, offensive and defensive powers, and then energy level. I didn't even pay any attention to the special attacks. That opinion would change immensely.
Immediately once I realized.
in my playthrough, yes. So we start with a title card of the fighter on the carrier again. They name that Mission 1. And then they tell you what your target is. It is Rikaku, and they close that out with "Fight bravely!" 2 exclamations. And I guess that's a different carrier? They don't really explain that, do they? You take off of a carrier every time.
Right. Like, is this a person? Like, what are we doing?
Yes, I don't know. It's I know it doesn't line up to me. But the plane takes off with a very flamboyant loop-de-loop, and we are off. So let us talk controls and HUD. The D-pad scoots your P-38 around the screen, as you would imagine. B fires your standard weapon, and A dispatches your special attacks, which is, the manual tells you it is one of the Command, Lightning, Cyclone, or Tsunami. And I don't know, I never really, I don't know how do you, exactly.
What are we talking about?
And I'll talk more about this later, again, from reading it from that little short doc I watched of this. That new one I found, but like I didn't even learn or think to use this until much later, and 2, I don't know how you could change it, and I don't know if it's, I don't understand this at all.
It seemed to do just one thing,
right?
When I had it available,
and lightning, and like I don't know if it's the same. I mean, because I don't know if there's a cyclone or a tsunami. There'd probably be lightning anyway. I don't know. Like I just don't know. I just don't know what to make of any of that. But when the way this works, I guess, is you hit it and like there's lightning everywhere on screen, and you would find it won. And see, here's the thing too, like, because if you do A and B together, it executes what it calls the defensive loop, but
that also does it at the same time.
Right, exactly, and like I kind of felt like this was all one thing to me that I didn't really understand any of it. Yeah, and like, I guess I would guess it's associated with the special attack, but when you do the special attack, it like freezes the enemy for a second, and they aren't able to fire. And learning to use that tactily in boss battles in particular is critical for some of them. So you really need to know to engage that and to keep it of mind in your repertoire or your arsenal, and again, I didn't think to do that until much later than I should have. But yeah, this whole area very fuzzy, and like I don't understand how you change those. I don't think I ever did. The defensive loop, because you have a finite number of those special attacks, so if hitting A and B doesn't use one, which I think it did, but if it doesn't, and you can actually do that, that's fine. But if you fuck it up, you are using a special attack when you don't want to. And that's insane. So you're never going to do this defensive loop. And if you're doing a special attack, you don't need a defensive loop. Because everything's going to freeze.
I hated it. I tried doing, like for that boss mission 3, I was trying to do defensive loop. But the minute I ran out of special, I can no longer do that loop. So I was like,
okay, so
why am I even using this loop?
I didn't even think defense test that.
Oh,
yeah. So okay, so
I was stuck. I couldn't even use it after that. So it was like, why? This is pointless. I might as well just use my special when I need the special, and pretty much I was using it to stay alive. Early on I was able to like kind of hit a boss, save it for a boss, but I was often just trying to like, there's so much stuff going on, I gotta stay alive.
I would never use them in the stages. I would just save scum because I knew I would need them at times, especially ladder bosses. I knew I would need them at times to have any shot of beating some of those bosses. So yeah, I would never burn them in stage. I think it was 3. I think you get 3 per respawn is what I was best able to gauge.
Yep.
Other than that shit, the basic controls though, and I'd expect nothing less of Capcom, but it all felt very good to me. I have zero bad things to say about responsiveness or hitboxes or any of that shit. It all just felt very good to me, so I don't have anything bad to say about any of that. But yeah, that special shit was very confusing to me. And the HUD is very non-invasive in that there isn't one, and I commend them for that as well. You have your score in the top left, very contrasting to ocean background white characters with orange drop shadow, and then your energy is denoted in the bottom right with the letter E and a 3-digit number that begins, for me, at 63, and I didn't understand until later that what the energy level thing does is increase that max. I didn't get that either. This whatever, but yeah, this number goes up as you increase that level, and that's critical to know and fucking be strategic about as well. And you get like when you get hit, it drops like it's fuel and energy. I guess is maybe needs to be specified. Like that drops continuously at a slow rate, and then when you get hit, it drops it in big chunks, So there's like this dual thing. It's kind of, I always think of River Raid as the comp for me, that your fuel is always dropping, logically, of course, but your fuel is always dropping. So it is a system you are constantly managing and keeping aware of. And again, I didn't realize this until much later, but once in a boss battle, your energy can drop to 0 and you don't die. Did you ever notice that? That's a question to ask.
Oh yeah, my energy was at 0 regular.
Most of the time, right?
Like,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, right, all right. Just
Regularly.
making sure. But if you drop to 0 in the normal play, you die. So I think that's very interesting, and like it reads to me.
What?
Yeah. Oh, I think anyways. I guess I never maybe I didn't hit 0 out in the main area, or I never let myself do it. But in the boss battles, it's interesting because it hits 0, and then if you get hit again, you die. But you can hit and stay alive at 0.
That's what it was. Yeah. I feel like I encountered that early on and kind of was like, okay, and wanted to make sure I had enough energy, but then I quickly like stopped caring about that because I realized that whole boss thing. I don't know. It seemed like something that was important early, and then something that faded to the background and I kind of ignored.
Okay.
And
yeah, I mean
that's the reason why. Because I don't think I spelled it out like you did. Though.
I wouldn't describe it that way. I would say I just accepted the reality that I couldn't stockpile enough energy and keep my weapons where I needed them to be to go into boss battles and be sure that I would have enough energy to last
like
throughout.
Which one? I'm picking my
right,
weapon
precisely.
stuff.
So yeah, what I guess the simplest boiling down. A reduction of it is to say that if you want to have a weapon that can offensively deal with those boss battles in a manageable way, you had to accept you were going to play a one-hit death flying shmup for the boss
That's
battles.
That's right. Because I do recall having a certain amount of energy, and then when I got hit, it was like, oh man, getting hit drops that. Like, oh, that sucks. You know, like
right, for sure.
Like I need to keep that up potentially for the boss fight, so I can get hit. Because I was very confused about that. That was not.
Yeah, no, it's not. Again,
it's
not
like one of those things
explaining
you
the manual.
figure out as you play. Like, wait
Right.
a minute, so that's how that works? Okay.
Right. No, and there's a ton of that. Yeah, a lot of these things, like I'll probably have on more than one occasion through this episode, I'm sure, and you'll never see any of this happen as a listener, but Jay and I will experience it. I will start reading something, this long passage I might have had about these realizations mid-game that I'm thinking to talk of as we talk through the manual and opening here that are going to get cut out of the actual edit of the podcast. Because, yeah, there's all these things in this game, yes, that aren't explained to you up front, and you have to figure out as you play. And that's not great. Perhaps, as far as like the documentation design goes. Again, fucking Paul. Everything. It's all Paul's fault. Everything. It didn't occur to me, but it's all Paul's fault.
Paul, you led us astray.
Okay, so this first mission, Target Rikaku, is it's open ocean for all of this. They do a lot of the background to keep it visually varied. Even here, though, there's some great looking cloud cover at times, and there's you get to parts where there's naval vessels down below that are just window dressing. You can't interact with them, but you can see them. So to me, they do a good job of conveying. It's just world building. They do a good job of conveying that you are up high here, approaching something. Mm-hmm. And then when we get to the second part of these levels, you descend to interact with these boss ships or these lower boss bombers or whatever they might be. And they do a good job of conveying that, I think, which was cool to me. So the enemies here on the first stage are coordinated squadrons of little planes doing, to me, all I could think of was Galaga. These Galaga attack formations, they're all one-shot takedowns, and they do, they'll like fly in formations of like 3 or 5, and they kind of like, some of them fly down at an angle and then swoop back up, or fly in at a kind of like a flying V formation. There's all these different formations that these planes take throughout the game, but it all felt very Galaga to me as far as the grunts go and their flight patterns and the way you have to deal with them and shit. So,
yeah, it felt very Galaga, very Xevious to me. I'm like, I've seen this before.
And then they also introduce, there's a different type of bigger planes that take multiple hits here. And one of them releases little planes that are very similar to the grunts, but they fly at these kind of like random ass mosquito patterns that are just kind of flying around circling and trying to in circles rather, trying to kind of murk up the play environment. And a cool thing about these two, there's just they do so many. I was shocked at how they're all just World War II planes, and for all intents and purposes. But I think they did a really good job of having a varied, subtle variance to them that kept you thinking and kept you dealing with new real-time problem sets as you played. Like some of these bigger planes will persist after you blow them up, and then now they're just dead sticks that you have to deal with in the way you're going to deal with the next thing that's flying on the screen. Not all of them do that though. Some of them release bigger planes, or some of them release little planes rather. Some of them do that thing where they go up and down, and you can't always shoot them, because when they're lower. So they just did a good job of adding variance to what could have been very basic cookie cutter stuff. I thought they did a good job of varying that up to me. So I was pleased with that. And yes, immediately I have notes here about overshooting POW pickups at times. And the way these work, and I guess we didn't explain this, but yeah, the way it works, like they appear as the POW, you start shooting them. I think they go weapon first, and then they alternate to a fuel pickup, and then they go back to a weapon. Or no, I think it starts with fuel rather. It starts with the fuel thing, it then goes to a weapon after and there's like 3 shots, maybe, but 2 or 3 shots between each one of these steps. But it goes fuel, weapon, fuel again, weapon again, and then it goes back to fuel and kind of dies at that. You can't shoot it anyway. It will neither move anymore, and that's what we're saying too. We haven't said that. each time you shoot it, it does move a little bit. It doesn't stay in the spot. So each time you shoot it, it moves. So that's a whole system too. That like later game, part of that juggle thing we talked about is not just changing it to what you want. It's keeping it on the screen so you don't scroll it off, or it doesn't get scrolled off by the auto scroll. Like you're not even,
because you're dealing with stuff flying.
Yeah, there's just so much to deal with that. Like
you might just miss it.
Right, exactly. And yeah, like you know, even especially like, you know, you'd get once you get your weapon, your special weapon time limit up high enough, you're able to thankfully deprioritize a little bit the pickup of a new weapon thing. So you can kind of just like, you know, you can just kill them. You can kill these pickups as the fifth thing as fuel, you know, and but you want your fuel to tick down as much as possible before you do that. So you're just killing them and like basically juggling maybe two of them at once while you're killing everything on screen, and just keep moving them up until they stop entirely as a fuel thing. And like, it's just, there's just so much to deal with mentally, you know, and that is both to its credit and to its frustration, I think. But immediately this stuff was becoming apparent to me that this would be like a whole deal in this video game.
Oh, for sure.
Just coping with these pickups and getting them to be what you wanted. So yeah, so once I finally figured out, the first thing I got was that shotgun, and realized the shortcomings and the advantage of that, basically. Once I was able to get a fucking power up and that shotgun and kind of saw how it worked and understood how important the special weapons were, I just restarted. And I redistributed my points. the opening starting point. I was like, I don't give a fuck about offensive, defensive power. I need to increase the time limit and the weapon with those first 3 points. So basically, I immediately saw the importance of this and started weighting my upgrades towards that special weapon stuff right here in the first stage, to the point of, again, starting over. So that was funny to me, that it was like such a jarring realization that I was like, oh, I just need to back the fuck up and reapproach this.
Doing this incorrectly.
Right. And then, yeah, the end of the stage happens, for me anyways, it was very abrupt. Like, you're like, the foreground sprites just disappear, leaving ocean background, and some text pops up that reads, "Visual contact with the surface forces confirmed. Commencing attack." I thought I died. I thought, like, there's no punctuation in the text, so it's, you know, kind of confusing. And yeah, it took me way longer than I'd prefer to admit to understand what the hell was happening until the next stage starts, basically. I was like, what the fuck? You know, like, what killed me? What the hell? Yeah, I thought it was like a death message, you know? Yeah.
No, you're just approaching the final attack.
Right. And that's way, it took me, again, I went way further in the game before I realized that this would be this like repetitious structure to this. You play this kind of dogfight level or dogfight area at a higher altitude. Yep. Yeah. And then you move into this lower deal where you'll have, it's kind of like a rather short, relatively short boss approach. And then the boss battle itself happens in that second part. And every level is structured that way. So you move into the second part, you get, I don't think it gives you any text or prompting, but you start this new area, and there's no interludes or anything. And here the water looks different. And they did such a good job of that too. There's all this effort to make you feel that altitude change. And even in the 2 different altitudes throughout the game, all the different missions, they do things to change that up and make it feel different, you know? And there's just more attention paid to that than I would expect of a 1988 NES shmup. Or maybe even I thought that was capable, you know? So again, aesthetically, I think Capcom did an incredible job of everything you could ask of, visually, of a 1988 NES flying shmup, you know? And as much as I criticize these, I wanted to take the time to fucking point that out, that I think they did. There's more effort. Like, part of the problem with shmups is how fucking they're just spitting them out. It's just the same thing, reskin. They don't put any effort. They did everything possible, I think, to make this everything that a game like this could be on the NES in 1988.
I wouldn't go that
except
far.
For the manual, except for Paul. Paul's stuff. You can't blame
I wouldn't go that
Paul.
far, but I would say, they did a good job of differentiating the dog fight with kind of the wave view of the water versus still blue, solid background, boss approach, kind of it varied the feel. So
Right.
I do appreciate that for sure.
Agreed. And you do indeed quickly encounter a couple of battleships with deck cannons. You had better prioritize dispatching between the dogfighting, or you'd be up shit creek in bullet hell. So yeah, you have to like, this is these boss battles, man. I mean, we talked about, you like, yes, you're constantly dealing with the air fire like that. That's simple enough and sound whatever, but like, god damn, I don't know if I've ever, that's the thing too. That's why I like this, is like those different systems. The juggle of that, I don't feel, that's why I liked Philios, is because like you're presenting this like this bifurcated problem set, and like I think that is another positive thing about this game, is that like the juggle between those two things, the different ships have to be dealt with differently. The way you deal with the air cover for the different types of ships is different. And I don't know, I just really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed having to like, and knowing it, and like that's the thing too. Once you figure out the math problem for these skinny ships with the one line of guns, and you know that like once you see that ship, I know what that ship's like. I know what that ship is going to be, even on the part that hasn't scrolled on the screen yet. You know what I mean? So I know what I have to do. I know I need to go up on these one line ships and just fucking get my gun right up on top of the fucking that gun in front of me, and literally just keep my plane right on top of the gun as the next one blows up, move up to the next one, and like just waste that one line ship, because I know I'm going to be able to do that fast enough where that's the best way to do it. And then as long as I have a three-way shot, any planes that come on screen while I'm doing that will be taken care of, and there's not going to be any ship side fire that gets past those defenses. Like I learned that early on, and every time I saw one of those ships the rest of the game, I had that satisfying knowledge, and then like capitalizing on that existing knowledge of being able to employ it reliably. And like what I hate about shmups is the randomness of it. The you just die because I just don't, this shit's happening, like I don't have anything dependable happening here, and it's just random action and responsiveness, and you hope it works out, hope the RNG works in your favor. Like these moments of reliable strategy to me are good, and they make it fun for me, you know, that it's less random. And I felt like even here in this first boss battle, I learned that.
I don't even know how to respond to all that. To me, this was such an easy boss. I just dominated it and move on. I was just
sure,
okay.
Yes, no, of course, right. I'm not saying it was hard. I'm not saying it was hard. I'm simply saying that like what I learned. I guess really the quicker point, perhaps, is that what I learned here was useful to me the rest of the game.
Later on. Yeah.
And that, to me, is a satisfying thing that I don't think a lot of shmups give you, you know? The way, because there's a twofold potential problem with it. If you just give me the same boss again, that's repetitious bullshit, and that's not any fun. But the way this game did, the mixing and matching of battleships, and sometimes seeing ships as like part of the approach and not necessarily the battle. Like it's just, they varied all that shit up and like found ways to let me satiate that satisfying strategy that I've developed for these ships in different ways throughout the rest of the experience, you know, and that is good. And accomplishing that without being just boring, repetitious, same boss battles every time, you know what I mean? So that's a cool to me job, I think, with a bullet hell game like this. So these ships are protected by formations of the green grunt planes that we saw in part 1. Yeah, they changed their formations a little bit. So like there's just so many different ways that those grunts get thrown at you throughout the game that like it's kind of like, what was it? There was a game, maybe Fester's Quest it was, where I was like, I can't believe they're able to like keep coming up with new shit for us to deal with that I don't think it was Fester's Quest, because Fester's Quest wasn't as that. But there was some game I remember just being like blown away by like, I can't believe they're able to keep it different in every one of these stages. And there's just not some sort of regurgitation of the same thing over and over and over again. Particularly considering how long the game is. Like, I always felt like every stage gave me something a little different. It's the same, sure, it's the same green fucking plane, but like it's coming at me different, and I have to deal with it differently.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Sure.
So that to me is kind of wild. That as long as this game turns out being, which I look forward to, we haven't discussed that yet. I was surprised that they were able to do that. So after you blow up the ships, things go, or sorry, before you get to them, yeah, you have that, you mentioned it, but we didn't really talk that out. Like you have that, you see the waves as you're going through the approach part, and then you get to the actual boss battle, and it gives you that moment of calm that you want, the boss battle approach. You get that feeling. And yeah, everything, the waves fade away, and the blue background, it turns to just essentially a blue void, which is interesting, because it kind of, the other things are so dedicated to, or the other backgrounds are so dedicated to world building, like real, in quotations for an NES, world building, that like the idea that you get to the boss battle and like now the water isn't discernible at all, it's just totally calm.
See, you're looking at it, that world building. I'm looking at it like they give you more busy background stuff to like keep your eyes like, oh shit, more stuff to avoid, like throw you off your game. But here it's like, no. Focus. Okay. Boss only. Like if you add too much stuff to the boss screen on it, especially here, it's like it may be too much.
That's true. And the only time this game slows down is during boss battles, because it does get murky for sure. So that it may have been an entirely a technical decision. That's entirely true. I will vibe with that for sure. Because yeah, it does get fucking messy in these, and having wave backgrounds in addition to all the bullets flying around probably would just make it visually worse to deal with. So that's a good point. But I was able to add to roleplay it and give meaning to that. So yeah, so the actual boss is a much huger battleship. Maybe you can see 1/3 of it at most on the screen at one time, and it putters up to you. You have to go mano a mano with it, and has 2 huge cannons on the bow, i.e. front of the ship, and another 3 on the stern, i.e. back half, as well as a command tower in the middle with 4 tiny cannons on each corner. And all of these take multiple shots to frag, of course. So Jay, yes, this allows us a moment to talk about this. Bow, stern, port, starboard. Let's do it. Let's internalize them and impress friends and family forevermore by knowing the what and why of these nautical terms, shall we? Well, I guess maybe I should ask, do you know them offhand?
No.
Okay. So yeah, I don't either, and for some reason it's super hard to remember. But after this, Jay, that will no longer be the case, I assure you. So
I'm from Ohio. I didn't grow up on a boat.
I live near the lake, so actually I did some
your lake,
some quasi boat, but
Columbus.
A little dinghy boat that you might take onto Lake Erie. You don't necessarily have to know these terms in order to
navigate.
Yeah, to navigate and do all the nautical things. But anyways, the bow is the front of the boat, stern is the back. That's pretty simple. The port is the left side of the boat. Starboard is the right side of the boat.
What the hell kind of name is starboard? What?
Crazy ass terms, right?
Why don't they just
there are reasons for all of this, Jay. There are reasons for all of it, and it makes so much fucking sense. But
explain.
So here's the why. Why do these ludicrous words exist? Sure. As the port and starboard never change, here's one reason. These are the why they exist at all, and then we'll get into the how they came to be. But the why is the port and starboard never change. So they are unambiguous references of a mariner's orientation. And as a result, mariners use these instead of left and right to avoid confusion. So if you were in a big ass boat and you're in one room at the fucking ass backwards of the boat and you're facing the back of the boat, talking to someone facing the front of the boat, I shouldn't have to explain anymore. If you say left, we have a problem. Your left, my left, sure. Okay, now add the complication of potentially having bombs blowing up around you. And it's loud, it's fucking scary, it's fucking confusing, it's all these things. You can't be talking about, did you say my or your left? Like that's not, you don't have time for that. So you need very discernible words, both in just the way your mouth moves, the way you might hear them, everything. They need to be wildly different terms so everyone always knows what the fuck we're talking about, because people are dying. So it makes total sense in that regard. That's one reason. And get into like the reason for the words. So in the past, ships would have rudders on their center line, and they were controlled using a steering oar. So most people are right-handed. That's always been the case, right? So back then, if you have oars over here on the right-hand side to help the right-handed people mostly, how would you dock the boat? Oars are in the way. You wouldn't be able to get up to the fucking dock. So there needed to be a dock side of the fucking boat, the port boat. or the port side of the boat. It is the side of the boat that would get up against the port for you to get in and out of the fucking boat. So that's the port side. And then the side with the oars is the starboard side. Which I guess, I didn't read this.
Board? Like B-O-A-R-D?
Correct.
Starboard?
Correct. Right. Yes. So, for this reason, most of the seafarers were calling the right side as the steering side, which later was known as the starboard. And the word starboard is the combination of two old words. Steor, meaning steer, and that's S-T-E with an accent O-R, and then board, B-O-R-D, meaning the side of a boat. So steer, side of boat, right? I was sitting there saying this out loud, and I hadn't thought about it when I was fucking cooking these notes up, but like, starboard's also, like, if this is the side of the dock, that's probably the side you can see the stars on, too. So it makes sense on multiple levels in my mind. But yes, as I described, the left side is called port because that's where the fucking part that would have to get up against the port. Another reason why the left side of is port is because it sounds different from starboard for the reason I was just describing. You know, sailors were calling the left side larboard originally, which was easily confused with starboard, and that was problematic. So they switched. Yeah. And also, here's an easy mnemonic device, and this is why you'll never forget again, Jay, after hearing this. The easy mnemonic device is that both port and left have 4 letters in them. Right has more than 4 letters. Ergo, it is starboard. And port has 4 letters, and so does left. And ergo, those two go together. So
if I'm ever on the sea steering a ship now,
you'll know. Next time you're at your yacht club fucking event with Bill, you'll be able to impress him with your nautical knowledge. Nice. As will all our listeners. The battleship, like you said, is totes easy, though, and I was all the way down to 8 remaining units, though, even with it being easy when I sunk that baby. And, like, you know, I don't know, that... I guess it just speaks to what we already kind of talked about. Like, energy will always be a problem. It's always going to be a problem, and it persists, too. I didn't expect to see that, but it persists to the next level. When you start the next level, if you only had 8, without the score tally, like, we'll get into it here, but it gets added at the end of the level, but... it's not like you just go back to full on the next stage. Like, if you drop all the way down, that's not ideal. It would be great to finish a level with more energy than 0, for sure. It would be helpful.
That bummed me out. I was like, what?
It bummed me out, too.
So, like, come on.
Yeah, it bummed me out, too. So after you take out that final stern side cannon, our view quickly pans back to the middle, and the explosion animation shit starts all over the deck, then winds up with some gray matter flying out from the tower. And I didn't learn this until later, but that can fucking kill you, so you better make sure you're nowhere near it.
Oh yeah, that definitely killed me. And I was like,
what the fuck? Yeah,
man, this is all arcade design, like leftover energy, like, oh, better pop another quarter in.
Right?
Like, there's,
Give us another quarter is here in spades, for sure. I agree. Then our plane flies off, victorious, and we cut to a really cool mission debriefing screen with a celebratory little ditty. And here we are treated with some dope pixel art of what looks more like an aircraft carrier than a battleship, but whatever. There are flames and smoke spewing up from the deck, and it looks like the ship is having a very bad day. I even like they pepper in some light animation to the artwork. It's not just static. It's got flashing little yellow pixels in the flames here and there to, accent the ablaze nature of it. And there's a bunch of copy here too. And this copy reads, Mission 1 clear. Rikaku, sink the ship. And then it gives you your destructive rate. And I love it. I fixated on this so much. It's such an awesome stat. But it's basically how much shit you blew up in the stage to give you like this, the completionist replayability, and that was a cool decision, I think. And then you're given a clear bonus. In this case, it's 50,000 points. And then it took me a while to understand what this meant, but it says charged energy, 40 count. And that's basically just what it's going to give you. And I think maybe this is a derivative of some sort of calculation of your destructive rate. Maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure. But you get, basically this is how much energy it's going to give you for the next stage, in addition to whatever you had left. So again, that's where it matters how much you have left. If you have 8 instead of 0, you'll now have 48 starting the next level instead of just 40. And that's obviously better. So That is explained to you here. You watch it count down, and then it says RRR, 3,000 points. No fucking idea what that is. And then, yes, it also has your remaining energy here, too, so you can see it count towards that. After the
I paid zero attention to the screen.
Oh, really?
All the time. Every time I was done, I was just like,
so happy.
Finally, I'm done. Like, I did not even care about the screen.
Well, there's useful energy there, or useful information, I should say, rather, about energy, I guess is why I had that Freudian slip. After the tune winds down, that charged energy number is added to the energy meter, and then, yeah, I was like, so this is where I learned about the max thing. Like, your max is 64, so if you did have more than 24 left over, like, that's another thing to think, too. That's what I was saying about, you want to let it count down before you pick up even to max out in the stages. Like, you don't want to waste shit. So, like, if you accumulated so much energy that you finish a stage where your fucking added energy is going to hit you at your max or get you to your max and then beyond, you essentially wasted a pickup that you could have devoted towards your weaponry by doing that. So it's just more fucking high level math problem shit to be thinking about at all times and dealing with, not to have waste.
I don't want to be thinking about math while I'm doing flying smokes. It's too much. It's ridiculous.
So then we move on to mission 2, target Kaku, and you have some carrier takeoff sequence shit just as before, which presented the question in my mind: if you're taking off from an aircraft carrier each time, why don't these pricks top off your petrol before you leave?
Right? Losers.
Right. Assholes, man. It's in line with, it to me, is what it made me think of is, and you didn't play Metal Gear, but when they drop Solid Snake off in the jungle at the beginning, behind enemy lines, all he has in his pack is a pack of cigarettes, a pack of smokes. It's just like, I don't know, like,
what are we doing here?
Yeah, right. Well, how fucking fucked up is that? That, like, you don't, like, even vaguely do your best to equip this individual.
Right. I'm like, is this a real life issue where they're just like, this is all we got?
Right.
A big ass.
Maybe, but not on a carrier, And again, if you went back to, like, I could, like, if we're not taking off from a carrier and we just have to keep going, then okay, I'm in your story. Like, the carrier got blown up. He's on. That's why this is so epic. Is he's on this nonstop mission where he has to find ways to refuel himself. He has no support, whatever. But if I'm taking off from a fucking carrier, you can't convince me there's no fuel there. You just can't. You can't do it. There's just no fucking way. They do suggest that we fight bravely again, though. So there's at least, they give you a pep talk at least. Thanks, guys. Yeah, that's huge help.
It's worth something.
Yes. And here, this again, I know I'm maybe fixated on this background shit, but they do. It's so good. I think there's just so much effort here that I was able to add story to. The water background here has these orange pixels in it, which I immediately interpret as sunset shimmer on the water. You know what I mean? So you're progressing through days here, and later there is water that I was able to discern as night because there's like this shadowy gray speckling in it.
But that's fair because also on the stage when the clouds come in, the cloud is orange.
Right, they're huge. Right, exactly.
Well.
So yeah, it matches up. That's what I mean. Right, exactly. And in the stages that are night, the clouds have like the gray stuff in them too, to suggest it's darker, even with the clouds. So yeah, it's just I think
at least they put some thought there. That's good.
I think again, I just think it's far above and beyond Xevious, dude. Come on, Xevious looks like fucking. There's nothing. No effort at all for any of these things we're describing. So I think it's crazy to put those things in the same sentence. Yeah, very cool. A lot of the same grunt planes and formations here. They do have a new big boy plane. That is the one I mentioned of the ascending and descending mechanic. They communicate that just by making the sprite bigger and larger. Sure, but like you can read what the plane's doing there. And you can't really tell for sure, but yes, I interpret it as it can't take fire when it's down low.
Oh, yeah. The same way. That's what it's got to be.
Right. So after a minute or so of firefighting, you get what felt like a mini-boss type moment. A large green plane, just a bit bigger than the previously encountered big boy planes, flies in and does this casual back and forth pattern and continuously spews off smaller planes. And they would do this. I didn't realize this was like a mechanic of this. Oh, wait, no, that's 3. But they would do this in the bomber levels for sure. More of this, where you just have these sequences, these mini boss kind of sequences, where it's just all bombers, and they come in, and there's like a squadron of bombers that is going to be accompanied by what would be the boss bomber later, and that's again a cool, just more thematic fucking shit going on than you get from a shmup.
This game amounts to me, and particularly when I saw those green ships come in that you just referenced. When I saw those, same thing with the ship with the big carriers that come in, the boss for the first one. It's how quickly can I shoot this thing down? Like when it starts creeping in the screen, like I don't care. Like I'm on it fast and immediately because I don't know what it's going to shoot at. I don't know what it's going to drop on me. Yeah. I don't know what kind of ships are going to come out of it, but I'm on it immediately.
Yep.
That's the game.
Yep, for sure. And that's why I think that is why that bomber is such a hard boss, is because that doesn't do anything for you. We'll talk about that when we get there. Yeah. But yeah, that's a tough hurdle in this game. So you do the descent animation at the end and are fed the exact same text about the surface communication immediately after, and you move into part 2. And I would come into this the first time with very little energy left and die almost immediately, chasing after an energy tank pickup, funny enough. And that's allowed me to experience the game over stuff and cut the title screen where you can continue. And I did so, try to continue, and it restarts you back on the mission start with 64 energy. Your score is reset, so you lose that progress, but otherwise you just start the stage. So, and I think those are unlimited. You can do those as many times as you want. So that's how the continuing shit works. My second time through, I got a new power-up shot where I had the shotgun spread fire, but the two phase. This is where I first got the upgraded level of it, and that was like, oh my god, such a breakthrough.
I was not there yet. Okay,
so yeah, I had it here, and yeah, absolutely. I mean, comparatively, it is just absolutely decimating of an attack, wasting anything you're actually targeting, but also doing a fantastic job of giving you cover fire on the sides. So just a really, really nice thing. And yeah, I would latch on to this longer. It was such of like a, oh my god, this is good, that I had like a terrible fear of trying anything else out, including that 3-way shot. I didn't get into the 3-way shot probably way later than I should have because of my perceived affinity of this discovery.
See, I didn't get that yet. That was on mission 3. But for me, I found the extra offensive point here, one of those flower seeds.
I didn't find it yet. Yeah.
And so I found that and I put it in offensive power. So I'm like, oh, sweet. I got 4 in offensive power, feeling great now. And so I go in, visual contact confirmed. I'm ready to like do that descent. And then at this point, like it was getting so crazy. I was just like, maybe I'll try the NES Advantage. Maybe I'll try that.
Okay.
Because it was getting so crazy to me at that point. Still.
So you didn't get to the mission 2. So you didn't get to the bomber. Okay.
Not even 3. Okay. Yeah, I'm on because I'm looking back at my notes. I'm like, no. Point mission 2 is where this happened. And then I'm like, all right,
turbo, yeah, man. You gotta have turbo.
I can't get a connect.
I can't believe you try to play this game without turbo. That's crazy.
NES Advantage. Dude, I was sitting here like it was
your hand had hurt so bad. My hand would hurt. My hand would hurt from holding the button so hard as long as I did. Having to do it. That's fucking impossible.
I was so angry. I was just like, I can't. I gotta do something else. So at this point, NES Advantage, and I'm restarting.
Justifiably so. I had a huge interaction last night on Twitter about this. Some guy, one of the dudes I fucking follow, posted something about. It's just like kind of it's asking out into the ether. He's like, he had posted a picture of the NES Advantage in a box, and he's like, did anyone actually use this? Like, I had 2 friends that had it, but just sat around collecting dust, and I'm like, what the fuck kind of insane life choice is that? What are you talking about? Who had one and didn't use it? That is nuts to me. That is bad. That is fucking bananas. Like, there's so much going on. The variable turbo control is crazy and useful. Like, because there are games we talked about, like Mega Man. Remember when Mega Man, you didn't want your turbo all the way up. You wanted like this, because of the pacing of the bullets, you could like, if you turned it up too high, they wouldn't go far enough on the screen, So there was like this sweet spot of like letting the bullet travel far enough before you start your next shot that you wanted. And like having that kind of control is just...
See, that's the thing. I tried all kind of controller type things and controller peripherals, but I did not have the NES Advantage itself. But also at the same time, I don't know that I would have wanted it because the arcade stick to me was inferior to the NES control pad. Like I was so much better at like gaming and platforming and stuff with that, like whether it was Mario, Mega Man, that like you could give me the NES advantage and I'd look at it like, now I got to go with the stick, and it's not as like, yeah, you do that at arcade, but at this point, like if I actually had the NES, oh man, give me that. Like when I was playing it, so I could see where that person was coming from because I'm like, who had this and used
not
it?
as in a I guess yeah. If you didn't have it, then you didn't. Yeah, sure. There's probably some trial and error in there, but again, if you have it, and like it's a purchase, dude. It's like that was like it was like $40, like that.
That's what I'm saying. Like I didn't have it, so I can't.
Sure, that's my point though. Unless sure you have the rich kids where whatever, it just shows up and who cares on it, whatever. Never maybe even try it. But like for me, getting that was like I'm sure I forewent getting a game in that moment to have that happen in my life. You know what I mean? So like it was a thing, and for that reason, even as a child, I took the time to engage it and figure it out and play with it, because it felt special, because it was special, because it was equated to a whole new game in my mind, So, yes, it took effort, and if you didn't exert that effort as a child, sure, maybe you don't ever discover that, but...
Yeah. I'm like, we had different, the way I hear you talking about the turbo, I'm just, I did not have that experience. That was just not me. Different affinity.
Yeah, I was in the whole thing last night about that.
But here, clearly, like this game, but that's what I'm talking about. And that's why, like, I have to think about this game the way that I do, because I feel like with the normal implement that you're given to play this game, I don't want to play it. I absolutely don't want to play it again. And
it's fucking hard, dude.
I love these types of games. Absolutely not. Absolutely not without it.
Super hard, dude. I just told someone last night, I was like, this is like, what was the question was, what's the hardest game you played in 2023? And it's 1943. Like the hardest game I played in 2023, 23 is 1943 for sure. There's no doubt in my mind. There's like TMNT up there, maybe Castlevania 3 was up there. Or sorry, played and beat, I guess was the actual question. And yeah, okay. 1943 takes the cake for me for sure. Like, and I'll get into it later, but yeah, like, part of that is in the basis of, again, something unexpected. That rug getting pulled out from under you at the end, or what you perceive the end to be, is maybe informing that a little bit. But just flat out difficulty, even, I think, very, very hard game for sure. So yeah, the boss battle here is a large aircraft carrier, and it's got 1 million guns lining both the port and starboard sides of the ship. Which is which, Jay?
The left is the port.
Correct. And then 3 hatches on the deck that continuously spew grunt planes. These can and must also be blown up to stop the flow of the planes. Pretty easy peasy. Then it's the same deal. Showboaty loopity loop, and then cut to the same point tally screen with the ablaze aircraft carrier pixel art. 100% destructive rate again for me here. And that is a very satisfying feeling that I enjoyed every time I saw it. And it would become more and more sparse as you play the game, of course. But when I was able to achieve it, I felt very good. So I assume you didn't have... Well, you said you had trouble with the stage. Once you get the advantage going, did you just cook this?
I definitely felt way better after playing the advantage on the stage. Not a problem. Like, okay. It's funny watching a playthrough now of somebody clearly using the hold down button technique, which is not in the fucking manual. Like, watching stuff get nuked immediately with one shot, one line. I'm like, they beat the boss in like, I don't know, man. It's crazy. Like, yeah, the difference in damage.
And I hadn't thought about it until now, but I bet that the damage that does, the power shot, is influenced by your offensive power metric.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So knowing about that and wanting to prioritize it and lean on it in gameplay also forces you into a decision of of prioritizing the upgrade of that relative to your special weapon. So that's an interesting thing too, that if you do use this, that allows you, again, just kind of a different and more autonomy over how you build your plane, particularly initially, you know what I mean? So that's interesting as well. If you know about that, maybe you approach it a little differently with your stats.
Yeah.
So mission 3 is target Ayako. And this is another slight change in the background here. It's a night stage, essentially, the gray specks I described, which in turn makes the blue feel darker, too. I don't know if it actually is, but just the contrast of it makes it feel darker. So adding to the aesthetic, this is now a night mission, and I applaud it for that. And yeah, this is, I have a note here that I know the answer to now, but I started this level with 66 energy, not understanding the energy level correlation, changing your max hit, and I was like, what the fuck?
What is happening?
Yeah, I did not understand. So much I didn't understand. But this stage got pretty fucking wild pretty fast. I flew unknowingly, mind you, into an island here in the midst of the wild-ass firefighting, and the screen cut to the plane upgrade screen, and I didn't even understand that it happened or why it happened.
You just ran into it?
Yeah, I must have just like created the sprite as I was flying into it, and yeah, I just I thought the game reset on me at first. Like I did not know what the fuck was happening, and yeah, no, this is like a secret supply depot or some shit, and it felt like once I realized what it was, I was like, oh man! Like I had no idea that was going to happen. I assumed up to this point that initial stat build was just like it, you know?
Yeah, until you run into it, then it's
right.
Like, oh shit,
yeah. I'm going to be able to develop this thing even further. Awesome, right? So yeah, a really, really good feeling. Yeah, I got lit up by the boss after this, and had to go back through this stage again, and was able to kind of like feel out that I knew that happened, so I need to make it happen again. I had a general idea where it was, but I didn't remember exactly, so fucking trying to find it again, then once seeing the bullet stop and make that little ping thing, all that was just, oh my god, so satisfying. And, finding secret shit in any game, of course, makes you feel good. So it was just a cool mechanic that I enjoyed a great deal. Yeah, you have to shoot it a few times to make it appear. There's no sound cue though, and I don't know. Yeah, there should be something more to draw you into it, I guess, to make you realize it's happening. Because you're shooting shit everywhere. There's shit happening all over the place. Like, until you're looking for that, I'm sure I probably shot it in the first two stages and just didn't know that I had shot it. And that's why I skipped over it,
The fact that you, looked for it is great. Through the craziness of kids, I didn't play this with much sound up, so I didn't even know there was a sound cue.
Dude.
I was just shooting.
Capcom, you did the music.
But I'm shooting stuff. I didn't really enjoy it that much, the music this time. But because I often at this point had the spread weapon, and we're on mission 3 now, so this is the first time I actually ever upgraded my spread weapon after we had that discussion.
Right.
And I went back and looked at the manual again, and I was like, let me actually try to focus on upgrading this, and then I upgraded it, and I was like, but because I often had the spread weapon, because in my mind, I'm thinking Contra, I'm thinking all the other, flying shmups I know. If there's a spread option, I want that. It may not be the best, but it's going to be better than most options generally. So I often was just running into these power-ups. So here, I had already, when I run into the upgrade screen, I already have my offensive power at 4, defense at 2, and I'm like, oh, I need that special weapon to last. So I put special, not even last, I'm just special weapon. So I'm immediately now adding a special weapon. In the future, I'll add a special weapon the time too. But my first one here is all right, let me
I guess, you know what? Weapon. Talking about it out loud, I guess we don't know. It probably is both for the power-ups that you pick up, but special weapon could also be the power of that special attack, Maybe.
Of the
A button thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't even think it. Well, exactly. I don't know. There's no way to fucking know because the manual doesn't fucking explain it. But
the other, but if it was that, then it wouldn't say
the same thing. I know,
weapon time limit.
Right. Yeah. You would think, but.
Right? It's gotta be.
That's adding that's giving an awful lot of logical credit to Nintendo game design, NES game design, that maybe is not warranted.
I don't know, because I put points in a time limit, and that did
well,
not
the time
increase.
limit, yeah, no, I don't refute. Obviously, that changed. That is a visual change for sure. But the idea that just because it says special weapon and that's supposed to not mean something else, I think is probably giving it a little more credit than it deserves. Whatever the case, another really interesting thing about these fucking supply depot deals, when you come out of them, you're coming out right where you went in.
Weapons
Yeah,
eye.
it's like you come out. Exactly. Yeah, that's a great way to say it. You come out. It is fucking whatever bullshit you went into that in the middle of, you are coming out of it in too. So you better remember what the fuck was. You better not let your fucking mind cool down too much, which is exactly what those things should be. They should be a moment to breathe too. It shouldn't just be a pickup moment. It should be a moment to like, fucking clear the mechanism for a second and fucking breathe. Maybe take a piss or something, like whatever, like, and it's not. If you lose the mental track you were on, when you come out, you might be fucked. So
it's like, oh, you got some power. You feel good? Ready to come out?
Weapons free. Fire.
Like
immediate. So yeah, super fucked up thing. I think that is very hardcore NES video gaming shit to me. And yeah, that's the perfect thing. You don't like the first couple of times. You may not realize that's happening, because whatever, you're not actually in shit when you go in. But the first time you go in some shit and come back out in it too. Oh my god!
Because generally, like, I save coming out of those. I was like, I'll save coming out of those. So if you're not, ready, it's like
exactly, and that's a thing too. That like obviously only save scumming presents as a problem. But yeah, you can save scum yourself into a hole there for sure in this game. So that's tough. This is where I finally did get the 3-way shot for the first time, and yeah, it is all fast firing normal bullets. So here I wrote maybe even more devastating than the combo shot that I'd gotten earlier. I was wrong about that. It's unquestionably so. So again, just learning shit as you go. This game is very good at that. As for the enemies here, the grunt flight formations can be very spread out. And that was interesting too, as opposed to like a tightly packed formations. They were flying out like all across the screen here, spread out, which of course just gives you more ground you have to cover to deal with them, which can be tougher. And combine those with those big planes that spew grunts, some new little planes that would swoop in and then bank towards the right or left when they match your vertical height on the screen. So just it's so many different varied flight patterns. Again, felt very hectic, but good hectic to me, and made it real tough. This was the first time I was getting the not 100% destructive rate when I finished. So enough to deal with for that to happen, and I got my first Yash Ichi here too, the pinwheel pickup that maxes your energy out according to the manual. And so yeah, I think I was at level 1 energy here, and my max was 70. Or sorry, for energy level 2, my max was 70. So 64. And I don't even know. I don't even know if maybe 60, maybe it was at 5 for energy level. Basically, my point I guess here is that I was never able to be sure what the actual system was for. I just randomly noticed what my max was at different energy levels, So who knows what the actual math is underlying. So moving into part 2, there is nothing but boss battle action here. There's no bullshit coming up to it all, but it is a huge green bomber with 8 guns covering the tail that I'm pretty sure, almost certain, like 99% sure, are indestructible. So you don't want to dick around with them at all, but everything you know about this game to date, and maybe video gaming in your life in general, suggests that you should be trying to blow those up. So you will spend probably a generous amount of time.
Too much time.
Right, first encountering this, not able to blow it up or make any headway seemingly even, because you're trying to blow something up that can't be blown up. And there's no way, it doesn't have like a really easily, if any, cue, visual or sound that you're not doing any damage to it. And that, of course, sucks. So that is pretty tough. And their fire rate and speed is also fucking pretty tough. So this is probably, even though it's only level 3, a top 5, definitely top 10 boss difficulty boss battle in the game, even here at stage 3. Just because of what you have to do. And yeah, what you really need to be doing is just avoiding that tail entirely and getting shots on the 4 engines. And I played this so many times before I really understood that. And it almost seems impossible, because if you don't have a power-up, you have to get in between the tail and the fucking
and then you get
engine.
Shot.
And you're going to get nailed because you don't have enough. Those shots are moving too fast and are coming from too many guns to avoid when you're in that tight space.
There's no way.
There's no way. So you have to have the 3-way shot here, in my opinion. You must.
For a spread weapon. Yeah, I had the 5-way.
Right. Right. Either way, yeah, some sort of spread thing to fucking be able to just like all the way at the edge of the screen, basically be able to hit both engines, you know.
But you know what's pissed me off about that? Like looking at this and how long that this fight took me. Like I was swooping, I was using the energy, I restarted. Like I let myself die and continue to start over so I could try to come back with like more energy. I'm watching a playthrough and somebody just came in with the normal,
they're at it right now.
The normal thing and just did the hold down button and was able to just kill it so quickly like it was nothing without running around, without swooping, without doing all that. And I'm just like, what the? Like I want to curse.
How did they do that?
I want to curse this game.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I was not able to do that for sure. It doesn't seem like your bullets pass through.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I guess if you
but
do
this person,
I guess if you do
the
super,
that's
like the super shot. They're doing the super shot though. So the super shot. See,
I mean.
that's again not fucking knowing. Yeah, tough, man. Very tough. So yeah, the first time I did it, I had 1 tick left on my weapon timer and 4 energy left. Just like the hair of my chinny chin, in my opinion. And yeah, it was just super tough boss battle and a real big impediment to really getting going in this game.
Oh my gosh, so much. This battle.
I do like though when you kill this thing, you shoot it down. When you go to the score tally screen, they change the text from sink a ship to shoot down. You know, that you shot down a plane. So they even acknowledge that your mission was different in the mission debriefing, which was cool. So mission 4, target Kikuchi, part 1. Water background specs are back to a lighter shade of blue here, so you're kind of cycling through this daytime cycle, and that's discernible. I was coming into here with a 40-point bump that to that 4 remaining energy count after, so this is when I first understood that carryover system and the things were being added. So again, just not understanding everything. And I was able to find another bamboo shoot here to get the upgrade. So then I realized, like, oh, these are probably in every fucking stage. So yeah, that's all good stuff. Moving into part 2 is a quick run through some grunt planes and then one of the smaller support battleships before getting another big boy battleship, just like the one in the first mission. Crazy easy, but this is where I was able to discern and learn about the zeros on your energy meter not killing you thing, and learn to kind of start strategizing on that shit, which was nice. Target 5 is Kyushu, and this is where I first was like, uh-oh. Is this going to be repetition fest? You start to see like same shit, different mission number, you know? And as much as I've talked about variants, because of the length of the game, there inherently is some of this feeling, I think. So it's still fun. And by now I knew what I needed to do to prioritize things and kind of understood the systems and shit to keep it interesting and enjoyable enough to keep going. But this was the first time I was like, I started to get like a uh-oh, am I in for like a fucking some shmup shit here? You know, the reason I hate shmups. Am I starting that process? Sunset color palette here, and another power up depot. This was the one was a cow icon for me, so I wrote it down. I'm sure it was a cow to get into the supply depot here, so that it's not always a bamboo shoot.
So random.
Yep, and honestly,
because I got cows multiple times and nothing happened. Right,
but that's the thing. And barrels too. I got a bunch of barrels in the game and never got one. I don't think, anyways, that was a power buy. But now that I know that you pointed it out, that's in the manual. The flower is just in the power up things too. So this guy is in stage 4, by the way, have with the extra planes on him right now. So fuck this guy. And the planes are persistent. They're not flashing. That was just probably slowdown that caused
really?
That. Yes,
maybe
they're persistent.
so.
Watching it, yeah. And I'm trying to tell if they're taking damage, and he's too good to fucking have them hit anything, so I can't be sure. But yeah, it's interesting to watch that work. He's definitely much bigger. Oh, dude, and they do 2 power shots when he's with the extra planes, and when he does a power shot with 2 extra planes, it fires 2 sets of power shots, and that is, of course, what he's doing a lot. So fuck, that's probably devastating as fuck. In boss of stage 5 here is a huge aircraft carrier with the plane hatches again, and this is where I realized that you can control your plane when he's doing the loop-de-loop still, even like the celebratory loop-de-loop. I mean, after you kill the boss. So this is when I first realized that I could be killed. And mission 6, target Ganryo. This is Nightwater specs. So I think it's just moving through the 3 different stages, or 3 different types for each stage, kind of dependably here.
Yeah.
Another new thing here to further clap back at my shit talking a moment ago about the repetition stuff, the found enemy bombers text pops up halfway through the stage, and then you're subjected. This is where you got that, like a squadron of enemy bombers. So something very different that has not happened in the middle of the stage yet happens here. That's kind of interesting. And yes, these planes take up more shots, of course, and it's kind of about, because they take more shots and there's so many of them, and you're trying to, this is where you really, for me anyways, I really maybe first noticed the juggling thing that we've talked about, where like you're trying to juggle what the power-ups are, but there's so many fucking planes that can't be killed in one shot on the screen that you really got to do this movement fucking choreographed dance thing to deal with it all. And like you kind of, they don't offer a ton of offensive threat.
But coming up behind you is the worst, man.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. For sure. That mechanic alone is just an instant like downgrade and play experience. Like, oh, fuck.
It's harder for sure. Later when you get the squadrons that come completely, those slower whatever, I think they're like biplanes that they slowly come up. And, and you need to do the thing where like every time to deal with them, you're doing the thing where you have to like learn this like perfect
the
circle to go around them and get behind them, which is cool that you have to learn that new thing late in the game. I think is to its credit probably, but yes, they are very frustrating, anything coming up behind you, because you can't shoot behind you. And then so there's no boss at the end of this, you just have to make it through the bomber gauntlet, and I thought that was interesting too, that you just have this,
that was nice.
No actual
a nice little break.
Yep.
If you call it that.
Yep. Yeah, and by this point, I'm writing down to keep myself in the 2nd-tier shotgun attack at all times, with a 3-burger and my special weapon time bar, and not finding that difficult, like prioritizing that, because now I'm deprioritizing the energy.
Yeah, it's like, all right, it's gonna take 1 shot to kill me, but let me get max power to cover all the planes, because at this point, especially like for me, I tried to keep, even though I like the 3. If I had the max 5, I'm covering so much. Even though, yes, it's taking me longer to kill some things, I'm making sure all the bullshit stuff to the side is generally taken care of. So it's really just the stuff coming up behind me shooting.
It's funny you say that, because what I wrote down here for Mission 7 is I'm pretty sure the grunts here took 2 hits. For me, with probably a lower offensive energy level than you even. So they accounted for that in their plan too, that you might have that fucking start having that approach, So, and then, that's a tough thing too, or not tough, but interesting, I guess, that like, because of that stat building RPG mechanic system, whatever, everyone kind of has a little bit of different play experience, and like what you have to prioritize. You can't even like, I guess what I'm getting at there is like, you can't even like, at the school lunchroom table, fucking like, oh, you just like, you fucking
just
like,
do this.
Just do this. Like, no, it depends how you built your plane, what you're doing in a game to whatever. So that's interesting as well. I think that, again, you just don't get with a lot of shmups. And I don't want to talk shit about that. So we have 2 big battleships to deal with for the boss battle. Again, I'm at 0 energy dealing with this, but I took the shit out the first time, so not terribly tough. And it was one of the things I love too. They have it here. They start on the front of the stern. They have, or the bow, I should say, motherfucker. They have the planes parked on the front of the deck. So like you see them and like, oh, I need to. That's got to be my priority.
Take them out immediately.
I do not need those 5 planes. Fuck those things. Every time I saw those, I'm sure everyone does that.
Immediately.
But
like, is it? Can I shoot it immediately? I'm aiming
same thing with the hatches. Like, fuck the guns for a second. I got to take that out. I can't have extra shit flying around. No way.
Because once it starts swooping around in patterns, I got to worry about it on the side, behind me, and then it's. Yeah.
Who knows? All hell could break loose for sure. Yep. And I found this interesting. This one also, and it's funny too, because later this can fuck you because you think it's a mechanic and then you get the rug pulled out from underneath you. But you don't have to blow all the POIs up on the ship. You can let this one scroll off. You just have to survive it.
I didn't even know that. Stage. I destroyed it. It just
exactly.
I,
I found it by accident. I found it by accident and like assumed I was fucked, and then it cut to the screen clear thing, and I was like, "Whoo!" So yeah, that was interesting to me because yes, later if you do that, you will fail the mission on some of them. So maybe a little fuck that's not either explained to you in advance or dependable throughout is maybe a little fucked. I guess you should be trying to blow it all up no matter what. And maybe this is just, you could, your takeaway here could be that you're just fucking, you got lucky. As opposed to like a changing system. They were just being lenient on you here early on. So mission 8 is target Roshuku. And this is another one where I ran out of energy just as the boss shit here. And I guess, no, actually this is where I wrote down where I actually did learn that you can be 0 for a boss battle fight. Again, at least for I guess I don't know if I ever tried in hindsight to run out in a stage. So maybe it is any time, and it would just be, even if you did try to fence test that, it would be harder to be sure whether you're taking a hit or not because so much shit's happening in the dogfighting parts that
for sure
you'd never really be able to know. And I wrote down this boss was a huge fucking doozy. It's a number of gunships with air cover everywhere, and Safe's got my ass off on this one, but I don't even remember what kind of ship it was. It was just another fucking ship, so.
just another ship.
So
another one of those freaking ships.
So the shmup things go. After these messages,
we'll be right back.
In our test center, world-renowned experts play Disney's new Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers game from Capcom. Here's what they say.
Way cool. Definitely rad.
You'll help Chip and Dale escape their enemies and rescue their good friend, Gadget.
Definitely awesome. All right. Absolutely nuts. Ouch.
Play Disney's Rescue Rangers game for Nintendo by Capcom. Also, look for adventures in the Magic Kingdom.
Yes. It's hot.
That is a 1990 Capcom commercial for Rescue Rangers that is very close to their DuckTales commercial. Kids in a futuristic military command center type deal, but playing NES instead of doing military shit.
Have fun Playing these games.
Rescue Rangers!
Standard.
Mission 9 is Target Ayako 2, Roman numeral 2. And seeing the target name and Roman numeral had me referring back in my notes, like, what the fuck was that? And I was like, oh, is that... my inkling was like, it was the bomber again, and I was like, fuck! And sure enough, it is.
It was more bomber. Oh
yes.
Gosh, yep.
And yes, this is actually where you first see those biplane formations we were talking about that swoop in behind you. And yeah, those are just... They're slow moving, at least. I guess that's maybe to their fucking, like, to their credit or whatever. Like, that's... a good thing, but no. Man, it's just like you have to we didn't use the word, but you have to like lure them up. You can't just like the second you see them swoop around, you have to let them get far enough on screen for that to work, and like timing and dealing and doing that while all the other shit's going on is really tough, man. Really tough.
Let me tell you, Josh, I was not happy to see this plane again. I was not happy. Because I still was like, it's the same shit again. Yeah, same thing again. Like, here we go again. Yeah, like, I knew I still needed by this point, I'm adept and focused on keeping a freaking shotgun of some type, whether the 3 or the 5 shot, whichever one I could actually make it out of the level with. That's what I'm going with. But it's still, like, seeing this again was just like, oh my gosh, no.
You have to do, the special attack. How did you learn to use the special attack on these yet?
I mean, I tried to keep it. Like, I didn't have the same level of stress with the second one as I did with the first one because I came out of the level better. I came out of the level with just more stuff. So
and just having just even knowing what you have to blow up is obviously a massive change.
I think this one I came in and I might have had 3 strikes or 2 strikes on this one with the special, so I was able to strike, and already get it like flamed up. So I'm like, all right, now.
See, I would never just burn it like that. I would always save it because you do that defensive loop and it stops the attack for a second. So I would always I would save that for when I'm about to get popped and just like try to get hits in. And then when it would catch me slipping, I would then use the special attack as like a defense mechanism that also luckily had some offensive side effect to it, So that was the way I always approached those. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, this level, it's funny you say you come into it in a better situation. I was fucking living this level, man. I kept having sprite slow down here, and I mean, it was, you know, kind of a welcome cause to be able to think, but like still, you know, when that happens, you can't not be annoyed. Even if it's helping you, it's still annoying. So fucking that shit was happening here. I got those fucking biplanes coming in, and like I didn't fucking mention, but like the biplanes, like it's so interesting to me on multiple levels, I suppose, from a psychological perspective, that like I thought to do it that way, you also thought to do it that way, and not only do we both think to do it that way, but it was so ingrained in every player that's ever played the game, and even the developers maybe, and any sort of, God forbid, they did some fucking quality testing or play testing, whatever, before they put the game out. But in the programming, they have it. They show you it a few times. You learn to do that, and then towards the end of this sequence with them, they do that one where they put them out onto the screen. Wait a second. You would long enough for you to start your thing, and then they send out a second wave of them right on top of it. So like, obviously the longer you wait to do the loop around behind normally, the more room you'll have to work with down there. But if you wait too long when that second one right on top of it happens, you'll fucking they'll run into you right from the back. So like, it was just like a real like dagger. Like, you think you learn how to deal with this? Nope.
And don't get me wrong, like I don't know how. Like, I think maybe the first time I saw these, I tried the lightning, and that's why I just didn't even try it again. Because I'm like, I definitely didn't come into the boss in a better situation generally. I just had more focus on keeping the shotgun. Like I died a fuck. Like this was not an easy level at all. Yeah. Like no, I was already beginning my. I don't know how long I'm gonna keep playing. I'm like I don't even know.
I was like, well, I'm looking at it going like, is there? I don't. Yeah, there's no indication.
Like how many levels are there?
Right. Exactly. Like, precisely. Dude. Yeah. I'm and like I didn't look it up. I don't want to know. I want to fucking like just feel it and experience like have that kind of happen to me. So I'm avoiding looking that shit up. But yeah, I am starting to think here like, fuck, man, how many more missions are there, man? This is fucking hard as shit. Like that. Yeah, and the plane is the bomber Ayaku is yellow in this case, so they make it visually different too. But I did take it out eventually and got through it eventually, and then we moved into Mission 10, Target Caillou, and nothing of note in Part 1 here other than it did actually, this is the first time this happened to me that I noticed the supply depot gave me 2 points instead of 2 points. I just held up 3 fingers with 2 points, but 2 points, and
I was excited
instead
about
of
that.
1.
I was like,
so
okay, all right.
Yeah, cool. No qualms with that. But the boss battle is just another litany of ships, the latter being a modification of a battleship with even more guns to frag in the middle. And I was able to survive and scroll past it, but didn't sink it. And then the last gun hangs on this is where I found this out, the last gun hangs on the bottom of the screen without shooting for an uncomfortable length of time. And then the ship fully clips off the screen, and the screen cuts to a black card that reads, "What a pity. Your skill has proven unsuccessful," which I made as our cover photo for a bit on the Facebook page. And then it gives you your destructive rate and tells you to try again. So yeah, just brutal that it can, it lets you do that. And even, like I said, even hangs on the screen because like it's so far down that there's nothing you can do. It's not like it's like giving you a chance to shoot it. There's no way to shoot it down there. It's too far towards the bottom of the screen. You can't shoot anything down there. So yeah, that was a wild development to me and really irritated the shit out of me. Yeah, so this is a real bitch. This other than the bomber planes and probably the end of the game, this particular boss was very difficult for me. You have to like stay. It's like you have to stay on top of those ships on the gun, like flying so close to them with your turbo blazing.
Oh my god!
So your hit rate is astronomical because if you hang back, the amount of time it takes to kill them is too long, and there's too much shit going on by the time you're getting to the next gun. And this is probably where I really fucked myself by not using the special shot because what I just described is the exact thing that shot alleviates, not being able to be doing damage on the next thing while you're doing damage on the first thing or the thing in front of it is the actual problem there. So I guess it's not our fault because Paul didn't tell us, but it's also not the game's fault because you did have a tool in your toolbox to some degree.
Gosh.
But yeah, very, very tough boss. Mission 11 is target Bunshu, and this is a night flight, found enemy bomber situation, and I was able to finish this. This is like what those really were. Is they're just breaths. Yeah, they are so easy and without the boss battle, it's like a chance for your stats to catch up or your energy level to catch up, and for maybe your psychologically to catch up a little bit too, and just kind of breathe. So it's nice that those are in there. Not quite bonus stages, but almost. And then mission 12 is target Chojin, and is very high octane part 1. They introduce these little gray planes. First time you see these, they come in flying in like homing missiles, dude, from the sides of the screen. They're like jet fighters or something, and they just kamikaze right at your ass while the green grunts are flying all fucking around. The grunts are flying organized flight patterns, and they're doing crazy shit. So it's like a good mashup of whatever. I'll say this, Jay. The fact that I'm talking about Mission 12 right now, and you haven't said that you quit, I'm surprised.
Oh no, I'm double checking. I'm pretty sure Mission 12 is where I quit. I'm like, okay. I can't get the file open. I don't know why it stopped, but I'm pretty sure this is where I was like,
okay. This was a very high octane level.
Can't just not doing it. Like it's not fun anymore at this point. Like the flying shmup in me, I'm like, I got the freaking NES advantage. I'm holding this. I'm like, the fact that I'm now aggressively moving the freaking stick around and just like angrily,
yeah,
it's just like tap out. Like I don't. And then I don't remember where I saw it, but I saw. Oh, I know it was. I was looking at the freaking Genesis, or not the Genesis, but the Game Genie codes again, because I was like, do I Game Genie it again? And that's when I saw I was like, start on mission 20. I'm like, 20. 20.
I didn't look at those, dude. Here's
20?
the thing. So you don't know about what that means, do you?
No.
That doesn't mean it's just a number to you. Okay.
Yeah. I'm on like freaking 10 and this is saying start on mission 20. I'm done.
I can't wait to see your face when you hear this then. This is great. Okay. Great. Okay, so that's where you fell off. Whatever. It doesn't make me think less of you. I totally understand. Mission 13 is target Riju, just another level, just another big boat at the end. Level 14 is target Ayako 3, a third time with the bomber. And seeing that Roman numeral 3 made me fucking shudder, dude. Yeah. It also made me look up a translation of the word Ayaku to see what the fuck that meant. And Ayaku is a girl's name of Japanese origin. This vibrant name meaning color and design likely refers to the designs you can find on traditional kimonos. And these designs are awe-inspiring, and the name harkens to baby's heritage and homeland. So that's what the name means, and I thought that a very interesting choice for these fucking bomber blades. I mean, I get the color changes, sure, but other than that, I don't see the parallel. Okay, finally, I had the balls to forego the second-tier shotgun for the first time on the formal three-way shot power-up, and this is where I realized how much of a mistake that was and how much it improves your play experience to have the three-way shot instead of that slower second-tier shotgun. So that's where I finally made that choice. And yeah, the level absolutely fucking sucks, man. The planes flying in, like they have planes flying in on the extreme edges of the screen, then swooping back up diagonally from the bottom corners.
That looks terrible.
Yeah, it's fucking brutal, dude. And then these bombers come on off the bottom that do spray shots in the tail now. And they are a huge pain in the ass.
This looks miserable.
Yeah, it's brutal, dude. It's fucking a brutal.
See, I would have definitely noped out. No.
I'm still sticking through it here, The boss bomber is the same old shit, honestly, by this third time, I was actually kind of like, I know exactly what to do. And, I made sure to roll in with plenty of tick on my fucking weapon timer, and it really wasn't that hard at all because of knowing what the objective was there. So then I move into 15, target Ryufu, hard, big boat. Let's get to the final mission, and I didn't write down how I knew that yet. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I knew going into this that I was getting to the final mission. Oh, because 15? They tell you. Jesus Christ, no, mission 16. Okay. They tell you the target's Tataku, of course, yes, that's why. So I'm like, target Tataku, that's the fucking what it said when I started the game. I'm like, oh my god, yes, I'm at the end. So I'm at the end now, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna finish it. I know this is gonna be hard. This game's fucking borderline impossible, but I'm at the end. No way I'm letting it win. I'm fucking gonna beat this thing, right? So I get into that mindset for mission 16, right? Part 1 is very messy, nothing particularly out of the ordinary relative to the recent stages. The boss waters here have a couple slender battleships loaded with small guns on them, one right after another at the start. And despite being small cannons, some of them do have the persistent explosion. We haven't talked about that yet, but some of the gunfire off the ships has this persistent explosion deal where like the bullet shoots, and once it hits its destination, whether that's you or not, it blows up and the explosion stays on screen. So we've already talked about it, but so much of this game is not even necessarily about avoiding gunfire. It's just avoiding all the shit on screen, even like the planes themselves. Yeah. And what this essentially adds is extra shit to dodge, you know? So those can really fuck your life up pretty bad. And in these boss situations that are already extra messy, it's really annoying. So that's a problem here for sure. And it also creates a lot of slowdown, but again, it's welcome. And then there's some of those medium-sized planes with the sporadic tailfire in here too, amidst all the grunts. So there's just a lot of shit going on. And this is actually where I learned for the first time, and you didn't mention it, so I'm guessing you never learned this at all. You can kamikaze into those fucking orange planes. You don't have to shoot them. So... And that might that might sound meaningless if you haven't played this game enough recently in particular. But like, what that means is like where they're flying in from like the side, you can just like go sit there and like just let them fly into you and be shooting something else, basically. You know what I mean? Or dealing with something else or thinking about something else. And that would have been something else that I think would have helped a lot to know from the beginning. Yeah, I was surprised to find that, but that is a reliable thing for sure. And so there are two more of the tiniest one-row gunship cruisers lining the edges of the screen on your approach, and then they fiddly give you a quiet boss run-up to Tataku for your final boss battle. Right?
Even the word was 16, like the number 16 was like an orange and stuff at the beginning. It's kind of like, all right, it's game time. Game time here. Right.
And that's how it felt for sure, and like I'm 100% thinking that's the case. So the Tataku is a huge 3-barrel gun on the bow, a shit ton of little ones encircling the command tower in the middle, in addition to one smaller 3-barrel on the top and bottom of that command tower area, and then two more huge 3-barrel guns on the stern. And there actually wasn't a lot of air cover, in my opinion, surprisingly, so that was kind of a nice thing, seemingly. I did say a lot of terrible things while fighting this boss. It's very difficult. That backside 3-barrel deal on the command tower is a real prick. Like the way the things, because it scrolls with your blowing shit up on it. You know what I mean? So like the way it scrolls and kind of pins you against the bottom of the screen if you want to be able to shoot this fucking thing. There's just not a lot of room there, and it is easily the hardest part about this boss is that back 3-barrel on the command tower, just again because of the scrolling. So it took me probably 5 solid minutes of intense battle save scumming to get lucky enough on my maneuvering to take those last 3 out and survive once I got to them. And then it blows up like all the others do, cuts to the "You Sunk My Battleship" pixel art and clear screen we've seen many times already, but we do get some unique text. It reads, "Congratulations, you have done it. We have survived. The war is over. Thank you." But then it cuts to a black card and some really concerning music starts up, and then you get some more text. And this reads, "You've discovered the main enemy fleet. That was only a trap using Tubin as a decoy. Please try again. You're the only hope. Good luck, sir." And I'm sitting there like,
what?
I'm sitting there like, I am sorry, what? Like, sir, this is a Wendy's. What the fuck did you just say to me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, well, fuck you. Tubin. Yeah, what is that, a shit name? Like, it's Toubin. Googling turned up nothing, so it had no translation. I don't know what the fuck that means. But, yeah, man, I was like...
I would have just taken the screenshot. I might have turned it off right there. Like, game over. Like, before seeing that.
I told you what it meant to me to get to 16 and realize that it was the last stage. And I was like, no, fuck you. Okay, like, I'm doing it. Like, fuck you. So I come out of this, and I don't know what to think about that. Like, I don't know. I still haven't looked anything up. I don't know what this means. It just cuts to mission 17, target Kaku, right? And I'm looking at that, and I'm like, what is Kaku? I can't remember if I've seen Kaku or not. Everything is the same. It's like the same mission, carrier, departure thing, target, all that shit's the same. And I'm sitting there, I'm just like, nah, man, no. Like no way
are they ghosts or whatever the fuck it was, ghosts and goblins in me where you beat the game and just you have to do it again? Like, am I going to do 16 more stages? Like, what the fuck is this? No fucking way. I was in total shock. So I'm like, flipping through my notes trying to figure out what it was. And the first mission was Tataku. So it's not the same target as the first mission. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is just like another, maybe it's one more mission or something, right? So like, I fucking go through this shit. And honestly, that next stage is like super easy. Like I just kind of vaped through it, So again, I'm like, maybe it's not, I don't know. I just don't know what to think. And I'm thinking like, it can't just be making them play the game again. There's no way. They're not that big of pricks. Right. And like, mind you, Jay, I'm boss. Like I started recording before the last stage. So I'm recording all of this. I have an 1.5-hour play video that shows my moment to moment progression of how I experienced this. But yeah, fucking, I am just like, whatever, man. I'm rolling to part 2 thinking like, this better be the last level basically. And the boss ship fleet here is 3 skinny cruisers and a 3-plane hatch carrier with air cover. Pretty easy. And I finished that and I'm like, better be fucking it. Like as it sinks, I'm like, it better be fucking it. Nope, not it. Another score tally, another carrier takeoff, mission 18, target Ayaku 1. And I recognized Ayaku for sure. It's the fucking bomber, right? So I'm like, fuck off. And I started Googling. I pull up a game FAQ, funny enough, it's the first time I've done that in forever. And because I don't want to see a video of what happens, I want to experience that for the first time whenever it happens. So I pull up a game FAQ, look this shit up, check how many levels there are. 24. And what? Right. So I'm easily recognizable as not just being a repeating of the original 16. So I'm like, okay, it's at least new content, and for whatever broken inside reason I have masochistically wanting to beat these games, I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to do it. So I fucking plow through it. Missions 18 to 22. Who cares? It's hard as fuck. I get through it. Big ships or bomber at the end, whatever. Who gives a flying fuck? Get through all those. And then mission 23, it tells you your target is Ayaku 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, no way are they going to make me do 3 of those bombers in a row, dude. And you bet your sweet ass they do. Fucking get to you fly through a hard ass stage, you get to the end, and you get in succession all 3 bombers. Each changing colors just like the first time too. And yeah, it was fucking, honestly, again, because you've went through those, they're not that hard. I'm safe scumming anyways, but again, going to like the OG hardware perspective, like how could you do that to someone, like so fucking hard. And you're not going to have, it's continuous. So you're not going to have special attacks for all of them. You know what I mean? Right. So yeah, not good. Damn. Mission 24, target Tataku again. And we're back on our fucking Tataku shit, finally. Part 1 is an absolute fucking nightmare, Jay. Everything in the kitchen sink is thrown at you. My finishing P-38 build was, at this point, was full offensive power, full defensive power, full special weapon time limit, level 4 energy, and level 5 special weapon.
Wow.
So,
that's
that was
impressive.
My finishing build and how I'm going through this. So I get through 1, roll into part 2, lay down a save state with 61 ticks left on my 3-way shot and 80 energy. So I was able to save scum through the first part. And dude, that first part, I am like save scumming moment to moment. Like I blow up that formation, save. Like blow up that formation, save. Like fucking just fucking not fucking. I just need to get to the end. I don't need any fucking moral, no style points, I guess is what I'm getting at there. So you get into part 2, you spend maybe 15 to 20 seconds getting absolutely fucking mobbed by grunt planes, flying in formations that come from basically every possible horizontal entry point at the top of the screen. So again, that's just like the most extreme version of what I described earlier of like the most spread out possible way to have to deal with those grunts, So that's fucking not easy. You get through those, and there's some stragglers from the side as well. And then they clear out, the waves fade away to clear blue boss battle waters. And the boss music swells. So it is 1 battleship with swirling side entry air cover, then a shitstorm of bullet shit plane formations getting to a 3-hatch aircraft carrier, then more insane air. So it's like these are like phases, right? You go through this one. You're basically doing multiple boss. It's kind of like Ayaku 3, 1, 2, 3, but with the battleships basically. So you go through all these different ships, right? And in between you get like these crazy ass flight formation grunt sequences too between each one. So just so fucking extreme. And so I get through that one. My 3-way shot is gone, and I'm down to 0 energy at this point. But they do lob you a cow pickup that gives you. So again, a cow pickup doing something else crazy. It gives you energy, 30 energy points instead of just points, bonus points. So whatever. Okay, fine. And that happens. The next one is a pairing of 2 gunships that you're best avoid. You just avoid these basically. It's those 2 single row ones. You just like literally, and they're like on each side of the screen. And what you need to do is just fly in between them, avoiding their persistent fire, and just shoot the shit in the sky basically. And there's no way you would know to do this. It just takes trial and error and dying. But if you shoot, if you focus on the ships, you're getting shot out of the fucking air by the air cover. So it's impossible to try to kill everything on the screen. So however many times it takes you to learn that. And remember, you're still on 1 life here, you know, in the old world. And you get through that, and I'm saving my special attacks, so I'm fucking, you know, not using any of those here either. And then you get to one of those big ass, basically the same Tataku as the first one. Hard as fuck, of course, though. There is air cover for that one. It's much fucking harder. You finish the damn thing. Same old pixel art for all ship bosses. They don't even give you new pixel art for finally beating Tataku, which I think was a real shit of them. There is new copy on the clear screen, though. It reads, "Congratulations, we have done it. We have destroyed Tataku. The victory is ours." Cut to a black card. Text types out. Then all weapons were put to silence. And there's no typing sound for that text's appearance. And I think that is a really, really nice touch. When it types out, put to silence, there's no typing sound. And every other text in the game has typing sound. So cool, cool, cool. You cut from that to a still image of the P-38 on a carrier deck, a pilot in all blue standing by the still propeller. The sound of a phone ringing can be heard. Then some silence before the ending theme comes in. Text for this phone call reads, "Hi, Nancy, it's me. Yes, the war is over." Which is just crazy. And then there's a long pause while Nancy cries tears of joy on the other end of the line, I'm guessing. It doesn't type that out, but that is my assumption. And I love the name they chose for this was Nancy, too. That is just like the, you know, I just see like
1900s white
right,
man. Exactly.
Precisely. I just see like 4 Japanese guys sitting in a room like, Nancy. Those fucking Americans will love that. Nancy's perfect. You know? And then the text goes on to read, "Indeed, I'm so glad. I just got off Hawk Nest." And that's interesting because the picture is him still on the carrier, but okay. And then the next copy reads, yeah, I'll be there this weekend. And I think just sending him home right after he finishes this shit, like, I'm not a U.S. military deployment expert by any length, but I feel this is giving them way more credit than they deserve. That they would do this. I bet he doesn't go straight home in real life, but whatever. The pilot salutes are POV, and then the image fades to a sepia tone color palette, and a white border appears, fully conveying it has become a photograph. And then the music hits its crescendo as the corner of the photo rolls up a bit, and the tune finishes out. There's a bit of silence, and then it's cut back to the title screen.
Commencing Attack 2, bringing us into our verdict.
The hardest game on the Nintendo Entertainment System, Jay.
I think I support that. I think
I think it's the hardest one.
I mean, it's definitely not the most enjoyable, I'll tell you that.
It's a 10 on Moe's hardness scale. 1943 in diamonds. That's their equivalents. And I think it, you know, that means I am saying that it's harder than Castlevania and Dracula, and that is what
we have been using, or I have been using, as my NES benchmark for NES, or my benchmark for NES Hard here on the pod. And I'm afraid 1943 will wear that crown until further notice.
I don't know. It's hard for me to say because I didn't finish this, so that's a point in its cap for difficulty. But also, like Castlevania games like that, they feel different than flying shooters. Like at the end of the day, this is still a flying shooter. I don't put them in the same vein as those games, and it's just not a good flying shooter to me. Like they're just too much. Like the manual tells you nothing. Like learning all these different things that I could have done that I had no idea even existed unless I had a Nintendo Power at the time, which clearly I did not have that magazine at the time. You know, like not knowing about the Super Shot, not knowing about the different ways that the systems work. And then once you're figuring that out, actively trying to be like, all right, do I balance the energy because I need to freaking stay alive with all this craziness? Or do I need to get the power-ups? And then trying to get the power-ups to be the right one that you want. It's one thing if they're floating around, right? And I feel like I can speak on this as a flying shooter aficionado. Like, give me the opportunity of different color things flying on so I can go grab the one that I want. Or only give me that. But like the whole shoot it over and over and let it like change multiple times so that I'm focused on this one thing for more than a second while all these things are flying at me is just... It's just too much and it's not fun. Like I didn't have fun. And then on top of it,
see, to me that's the difference. To me that is fun. That again, that bifurcation is if I don't have that in some way, shape, or form, and yes, it is heavy in this game more than any other, which is why it's difficult,
necessary. It's necessary. You have to. It's not even like an option. You have to, or you will fail. But then on top of that. Like not having the NES advantage, not having the option to do turbo, and it's come on now, man, come on. Like it's just too many levels. This feels like a classic case of we took this game that was popular in the arcade,
right? That's there.
We ported it to the NES, and because people are going to pay $40 or whatever, $50 for this, we got to add more levels. So they just repetitiously adding more and more, and it's like.
Well, I told you, like I feel like there's some level visually it's relatively repetitive, but I felt that they made enough effort to change the nuances of both the individual way those enemy sprites behaved, and then the way they intermingled. You know what I mean? There is like intelligent design there. It is not just. Here's that, like it's not just a bank of code that they just kept citing and pulling back up, wrote the same way every time. They like thought about it and like, okay, that's going to exist in an ecosystem with this type of thing in this particular stage. Like to me, it all felt like intelligent design at least, and that. It's hard as fuck.
To me, they just added different colors to the stages to represent different times of day, and just threw more planes at it. Like it was just more and more of the same. Whereas like you got Philios, you had like visually stunning different stages.
Well,
yes, it's on the Genesis.
Yes,
it's on the Genesis.
That's not fucking fair.
But like, I mean, I could pick multiple flying shooters, which like give me different kinds of enemies. This is just planes over and over, planes, ships,
okay.
And I get it. I am biased against war games. I love Call of Duty, but that's like very detailed and different. Whereas this is just like you got your stock ships, green or white. You got your planes, and then you got like ship boss, and it just felt like I was doing the same thing. To me, outside of the color palette, I felt like I was doing the same thing over and over and over, and it wasn't fun enough. It was too much level of stress, high level of stress constantly to try to maintain the pickups and keep that versus the level of fun I was having while doing it. It just did not. I'm not saying it's not a good game. I'm not saying it didn't do some things well, and there's more complexity to it than I thought. But there's just it's out of balance. Like the complexity, the difficulty, and the stress level compared with the level of fun is just way out of balance. It's way out of balance.
It is. And that, yeah. I mean, that's the hard thing of it. Is that, and I think it's not really
like. Are you going to tell me you had fun? Did you have fun playing it, Josh?
A lot of the time, yes. That last hour and a half that's on video documentation, no. Because then it's just like, fuck you, I'm on a mission. But I did want to do that. And I've quit a game where I was like, fuck this. It's not, it's not that I won't quit a game, you know. It doesn't happen a lot, but it has happened. So...
I mean, is this Captain Skyhawk level? This might be Captain Skyhawk.
No, way better visually, control-wise than Captain Skyhawk, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's weird, man. There's a lot of shit that pisses me off, but like all of it is intelligent design, I think. Like it's really, really, really fucking hard, but none of it was bullshit hard. None of it was, I don't know, none of it was Fester's Quest. None of it was fucking... I don't know, Dino Ricky, like some of those fucking games that are just like, what the fuck? Like this is not, it's not intelligently difficult. It's just, it's not, there's no, they just kept adding shit till you died.
No,
you know?
the enemies I get, those very
like I said,
simple. Just add it, just stack on more.
But they weren't just stacked on though. They weave together in a way that like they complemented each other. Like I said, when they started adding those fucking random ass fucking gray planes in that just fucking kamikazed into you, that's in direct contrast to the sequence where you're just dealing with these very, very structured formations of the green grunt planes. You know what I mean? And like it's meant to undermine a convention that you think you had gotten into or had developed, you know what I mean? And like when they did the biplanes, were like they sent you a bunch of them with the same interval, and then out of nowhere just change that right in the middle of the stage. You're like, fuck! You know, like you think you have it figured out. Like, no, you don't. Here's a different intelligent change, and it's not just more. There is like a very, very discernible choice to change what you are doing, what you've developed to deal with this thing, and turn that on its head. And yeah, I don't know, man. That's the only enjoyment you can get out, other than just like you said, kind of like the feeling good vibe of like I'm just blowing shit up and like, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's part of my thing. When I
just saw a guy fly into a plane logo too, also to go to a depot, just so you know. So cows, bamboo shoots, and a plane.
I mean, I don't know. I guess that's part of one of the reasons why I like. I don't know. A game's got to be. It really is game by game dependent, because I'm like Contra was still war, but that's fantasy because there's aliens and things like that. That's not a flying shooter, but like I'm thinking about why I like other flying shooters better, and they just do things differently. The weapons are more fun. Like I hate the weapons here. Like it's just not outside of the picking them up. It's just like.
It is.
It's just like
isn't
the
a ton of
circle,
variance,
and it's just kind of like.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's not a ton of variance
I don't know.
to them.
And when I play a flying shooter,
but they have to. They also have to kind of keep it in the story world too. You can't just have crazy ass fucking lasers and stuff because it's fucking.
No, I know, but I think that's what my thing is. Like, I just don't enjoy. There's not enough here to make me enjoy it to want to keep.
Like, that's how I always was about 42. Is I had never tried this. Like 42, yeah, that doesn't appeal to me either. World War II is not something I really care about either necessarily from like a game playing perspective. Anyways, it's interesting from a historical perspective, perhaps. But yeah, I don't play a lot of games set in that world with any sort of like heightened interest. So yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but I also like you can only do so much with this, and
yeah, like if you gave it to me as a gift back then because of the password system. Yeah, if I need a flying shooter, I'll come back to it when I'm in the mood for that. But I don't know. It's really hard to play.
With the passwords, dude. Yeah, like honestly, we talk about like these arcade comparisons. Like, drop another quarter, come back later, fucking play this, giving it more content because it's on a home console now. Like, there are probably kids with that memo section full of every password for this game, and they spent months coming back.
Especially if you had like an uncle or grandpa or somebody, who was in a war, military, who told you any kind of stories. Like I could see it. I could just, for me, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just rough. It's just a rough go.
Tough. Yeah. Another Castlevania, like one of my big metrics, is the, 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 one of my big like how close to the edge does the final boss push me? You know, am I getting that like when it dies finally? If it was that hard, like it should be, like what do I feel like? You know,
Yeah,
and
how
like,
did you feel?
Right, and I was, and you know, you can see it all in the video, of course, but like the realization that I got the rug pulled out from under me pissed me off, and it was the same with Castlevania, and I gave it the blessing almost exclusively on this basis, I think, maybe, because there's so much about that game's broken, like we just talked about when going through 3, like, you know, I was, like, that final boss battle, I'm like, fuck, I'm just hammered on it, like, go, do it again, fuck you, no way, like, I'm so close, I'm getting closer every time, it's hard as fuck, but I see the path, like, that's all there for this, dude, and, like, I feel like that is another Castlevania comparison that I have to, you know, I've kind of established what my fucking criteria is for this. I feel like it would be an undermining of previous blessings to not give this one. Like, you know, fuck you, Dracula, fuck you, Tataku, your ass is grass, and I'm the fucking lawnmower, here I come. You know, like, that was here for this fucking game for sure. And I think that's one thing that has me leaning towards yes for sure. Yeah. And then, you know, I've already said it, but like the simple shit, I mean, even if you don't want to say, I think 1988, but particularly 1988, like I just don't see how. I think the controls are perfect to me. I do like the music. I thought there's a ton of tracks. I actually liked it, and the stat tree stuff for the plane flowed well, and like I was interested in it. You know, there's tons of games where you have that kind of mechanic, and you're just kind of like, I don't care, just give it to whatever. But like I saw the advantages that each one of those gave. They all meant something to me in some way, shape, or form, and I was making true choices when I was fucking adding to each one when I was adding to it, and doing that to a fucking flying shmup too is like next level shit, especially again to care about it every single time I encountered it. Like all that sidebar shit really good. So
it's funny.
Yeah.
I would counter all of that and say, yeah, the statue stuff felt like, oh, I gotta, you know, I'm gonna put in, I have it behind me, you know, I'm gonna go offensive first, and I'm gonna put in special weapon time limit. But I didn't really feel the difference, like between adding the offense, defensive, like I didn't feel it as I was going through. So it just kind of still felt like, again, I was doing a bunch of stuff, and it was just more stuff that I had to like think about and work through versus like an actual like, ooh, now it takes me one less hit to defeat this thing. You know what I mean? Like I didn't see.
Sure, it's not as visually measurable for those parts, but I just kind of trust that there is. Like I said, I noticed when I had to start shooting grunts twice. So I knew there was like a gradient to that, how much damage you're doing and how much, whatever, how quickly you're killing shit. So like I just assumed that the levels were getting harder, the enemies were getting more difficult to kill, and this shit was kind of counterbalancing, you know. So to continue to pay attention to those, or you would regret it, you know. So no, I couldn't 100% discern the exact difference, but I did see that changing in the game and just assumed that those systems balanced out. And then, you know, obviously the energy level and time limit, those that are just counters on the screen, you can see those changes. So you know those have an effect.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, just overall, did I have fun? Didn't really have fun. Would I recommend it to someone else? I would not. But would I consider playing it again? Or, you know, via remastered version if available? Perhaps, but I think that's only because I'm thinking it would be completely remade in a different game and visually better, different. You know what I mean? So I can't give it a blessing. I just can't.
There's a VR World War II Fight Slim I have never gotten, but I bet it's kind of cool. It'd be kind of interesting to like be in a cockpit and like doing all this shit would be pretty fucking wild. Probably nausea-inducing as hell, but
I'm sure.
Probably pretty cool. Well, yeah, man, I think you didn't talk me out of it. I think King Lorik bestows his blessing on 1943. And yeah, I'm just shocked. I can't believe you weren't head over heels for it. The whole time I was getting into it, I was like, fuck, Jay's going to fucking love this. Jesus Christ, this is exactly the stock fucking...
That's like the second time.
I know, it's funny. Like, oh, it makes me think a lot about like... I mean, we know our gaming tastes are relatively different, so I guess it shouldn't be that much of a shock, but it's funny to me that within even a genre that I perceive to be something you like, there either both can be enough nuance and is enough nuance for you personally to not, for me to just, oh, this is a shmup. I like it. Jay always likes shmups. Why doesn't, like, just to me, it's just surprising to me to learn that can be there, that there's that much of a gradient to.
I like them, so it's got to be like a standout and have the high bar for them.
Okay. Fair enough. So split blessing. We close out 2023 on a split blessing. Since it is the closing out of 2023, I thought we could quickly cover our best game app of 2023. Jay, what? And this is, it's worth noting, I pointed out to Jay, I would like this to not be the best game we played in 23 on a game app. I would like to be our best game episode. So I think the experience of recording it and the experience, the fun maybe you had researching the subject, or just the amount of fun we had talking about it, just kind of from our perspective, this is for the listener, what we enjoyed recording about the most in 2023. I thought that would be interesting for us to quickly cover. So what did you have for that, Jay?
Oh man, to me it was close. It was close between TMNT, because of like what it meant, and getting through that and talking about that, and everybody's got a story about Ninja Turtles, and we could talk about that all day. And then as much as Felios sticks out into my mind, I think it's more the game. But I think Super Mario 3 sticks out to me just because I didn't expect, it's a game, obviously it's deep in nostalgia for many reasons. And I didn't expect the episode to be the way that it was. And so when I, just reading it and going back and like watching some more of the Wizard and, seeing some of these older magazines as an adult, going back and seeing like the pre-announcement of Mario 3 and some other things like that was fascinating. So I like that. Things that I thought I kind of knew but didn't know.
So. Sure. Okay. TMNT and Super Mario 3. Okay. I thought I kind of expected TMNT might be it for you, and it certainly was for me too. My first one was TMNT. Like, there's just too much nostalgia in that IP, and revisiting it all was, of course, a blast. Pulling up video clips and shit for the episode, and funny enough, like doing all that too, like all the research and shit for the episode. I feel like it kind of pumped up my algorithm hits for TMNT. So I started seeing more TMNT toy posts and stuff while I was doing that, and that was fun to me, you like
Ninja Turtles, look at this new Ninja Turtles series toy.
Right. No, even like the just the old retro accounts. There's a million like just literally accounts just posting fucking. There's so many figurines and playsets and shit for those toys that there are entire feeds that are nothing but individual characters and stuff. Most of the big toy lines have those, of course, but. Getting all that pushed up in my feeds was kind of fun. Yeah, I mean, I think it. I also mentioned to you, privately that I think it's one of our top 5 eps, just period. Like the quality of our episodes, both in just kind of the, I guess, shared IP appreciation we had. I think led to a really good conversation, and was just in many ways was a lot of fun and a quality fucking episode. So that, of course, is cool to me too. My honorable mention actually would be, it's funny you say, like, I felt Super Mario Bros. 3, like we didn't even know we were going to do it that way. It's just like, I guess maybe my anal retentive BB stacking bullshit is why this is the case. I mean, we talked about it as like a special thing. We knew we were using like a whole magazine, essentially, the strategy guide, to accompany it, so inherently it would have a lot. But like, it felt to me like it just felt like it fucking went on forever, man. It felt like the episodes were too long. It felt like I don't know, we weren't able to do it qualitative justice because of how much there was. But it's like there's all this quality stuff to assess in it, but like the analysis of it is not intricate enough, or there's not enough there for the analysis to be interesting. Like, the game is interesting, but it's just, and this may be a credit to Nintendo, Nintendo's able to create a game that is so much fun and so cool and has so much going on in it, but there's not anything to talk about there. And like, I think that is a Nintendo compliment, that they can create a game that is simple enough to not be worth talking about, but is amazing to play. You know what I mean?
I think
And
that's
to me,
how I felt about it though.
Yeah.
Like because I had beat it many times. It was kind of like I could talk about this all day. You know, we could just, there's not, but I just instinctively knew there's not a whole lot to analyze. Like we could talk about these things.
Right.
Yeah.
But there were some, of course, there were nuances we found, and looking back, magazine appearances, there's a ton of shit. Of course, we fucking filled like 9 hours of content, I think, out of that game. So there's plenty there, sure. But at times it felt like, I don't know, just from a hosting perspective, I was like, oh God, this episode's never going to end. How could anyone possibly want to listen to this? And maybe that's how the listeners feel. I don't know. Our numbers are actually kind of low on those episodes. Which was surprising to me. Anyways, my actual honorable mention would be Shadow the Ninja, I think. All those ninja options and the accompanying ninja jokes are just too much goddamn fun for me. So I really had a blast with, and that was a fantastic game too. And like, it's probably the game of the year from a discovery perspective. Like I think you're saying, I mean, honestly, it's kind of funny. Both our honorable mentions are this. I think it's what you're saying about Philios. It's like, it was a game you didn't know existed at all. Definitely didn't know it was anywhere near that good. And that, of course, adds to the experience, too, from our perspective. It just makes you more enthusiastic about the podcasting nuts and bolts of it, because you're experiencing a game for the first time. That is truly fun. Yes. Cool part about doing the podcast, of course. So, just wanted to get into that before we got out of here, since it's the end of the year. Happy fucking New Year, Loric Disciples. Next up, moving into 1991, we'll be beginning 1991 in the Nintendo Power realm with the first issue of that year, Nintendo Power 20, which is, I'm pretty sure, I don't want to say pretty sure, I'm 100% certain it's my childhood subscription, final childhood subscription issue. So it's the last one I got as a subscriber when I was a kid. So, of course, one, sad emojis abound for that, but two, there's some interesting personal connections to it, I suppose. So much in the same way that first Super Mario Bros. 3 one I got has significance to me. This issue also has a lot of emotional significance to me, I think. So that'll be fun. You can subscribe to the pod on the platform provided by whatever dumbass company that serves up your pottery. Please rate and leave positive shit for the pod on that podcast platform of choice or any other for that matter. The website is nyeh.com/ISOHpod. You can email us directly at isohpodcast@gmail.com. Follow the pod on Facebook and or Instagram. Link to the YouTube gameplay videos playlist is in the show notes. There's the ISOH subreddit also if you want to get downloads on Reddit. And we don't have a Patreon, but if you'd like to give money to things podcasters tell you to, I'd like to do so at our direction. The Able Gamers Foundation creates custom gaming rigs for gamers with disabilities, and that's cool as fuck. AbleGamers.org is where you can find them. T-shirts are on the website. They're dope, and proceeds on those after pod expenses go to Able Gamers. I'm wearing one right now. Jay, what's your socials?
Gentleman JB without the second E is where you can find me when I do post, but you really should just come invite me and play some COD anytime. Let's kill some zombies.
I am on Twitter at Josh Folan. I'm on Instagram. My shape is broke, and that is also what you need to look up if you want to join me in a Dungeons of Eternity run that we probably won't be able to finish because of how difficult it is now, but we can try anyways. Okay, bye.
Bye.